Coach Drew and Baylor complete college basketball's greatest rebound and rebuild with a championship.
If you're going to war and I'm coaching, I'm taking these guys.
Baylor, kings of college basketball, #1 in the land, and the trophy is coming to Waco.
Baylor, one of the great turnarounds in college athletics history, national champions in year 18 for Scott Drew.
Our fans that have been with us for the lean years, the good years, and our administration, President Livingstone, Mac Rhodes, they all deserve this. The city of Waco deserves this. Hey, Texas, we got a national championship too. The state deserves it.
Did I stutter? He has time, launches it to the end zone. Touchdown! Terrence Williams!
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
The 2011 winner of the Heisman Trophy is Robert Griffin III, RG3!
Welcome to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Langoliers, base hit to center, and the Baylor Bears win their first Big 12 tournament championship.
Their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear, which is how great you are.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Hello? You play to win the game.
Yep, just ready for OU.
You can't handle the truth.
Here's Drake Toll.
Welcome into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. It is Tuesday, everybody. We're rolling off the middle of May today. The cloud cover is upon us. It's about 65 degrees outside and raining, and it is going to pour today. But ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
Yeah, today's a walk the dog on the treadmill kind of day. You just put him on. You just put him on and just let him go.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going outside. Not in this mess. No way. The weather's terrible, but that's all right. We can fix that.
We're rock and roll.
I can fix that. You ever seen that movie Holes? Spectacular. Spectacular.
Guy who says that is from Psych. I gotta fix my mic over here.
What are you? Is your microphone broken?
Mike's making. Hey, there we go.
Yeah, all right.
There we go. We're just playing tricks on us today.
Righty tighty, baby. Righty tighty. Hey, we got a lot to get to today. We're still looking at Baylor baseball and what Baylor baseball did over the course of the weekend against Kansas State, knocking off the Wildcats in 2 out of 3 games, scoring 23 runs on Sunday, putting up a 17 spot in the 5th inning, 17 hits that day as well. We had Hayden Kettler on the show yesterday to talk to us for like a half hour, long-form interview, and Hayden Kettler he's a stud. He's a stud. Outside of that, you're also looking at a softball team that's about to compete in the Big 12 tournament. Gurleen Kaur, Baylor golf player, she has been invited to the U.S. Open, the U.S. Women's Open.
Okay.
Only a handful of amateurs get to go, and she's going.
It's like that.
It's like that.
I did not know that. Okay, heck yeah, let's go. But what is Baylor bad at? Would that be a better question? Like, what is Baylor not good at? I feel like it's a very short list of things these days.
Baylor is...
It's a short list.
It's a short list, right? It's a short list. They're really good at equestrian, the horses. Very good horses.
Elite.
Offensive line.
Horse program.
Offensive line.
Blocking.
Whoa.
That's a great point.
Boo.
Armstrong's got a really good point. What is Baylor not good at? Football team goes 2-7.
Previously.
What is Baylor not good at?
Previously.
Come on.
Previously.
Yeah, but that's every. We don't want to become A&M where it's like this is the year. This is the year the football team's exponentially better. Maybe they will be, but 6 wins.
6. I mean, we can. That's a whole other topic. I think they're going to be in the neighborhood of 8 wins.
8 wins?
I truly do. I think it's realistic, 8 wins.
Wow. I mean, hopefully so. I'll probably have them predicted at 7 or 8 going into next year. I mean, if the over-under's at 5, I'm putting my house on that.
Yeah, it's got to be way over.
I would hope. I would hope it's over that. Outside of that as well, you've got men's tennis competing this weekend in Orlando against Ole Miss. Number 2 team in the country, Baylor men's tennis seeding. Did you know? So it's interesting to me, Baylor men's tennis was the number 1 team in the country, and Baylor was given the number 2 overall seed. So it would be as if Baylor and Gonzaga, whole season, Gonzaga's 1. And it's not a great comparison, but like final AP poll.
Okay.
Gonzaga's 1, Baylor's 2. Committee says, let's flip it. Let's make Baylor the 1 overall seed in March Madness. Let's make Gonzaga the 2 seed.
Is that just strength of schedule, or what is the reason behind that?
I have no idea why they did that, why they flipped it. But it makes me think that's like A1 bulletin board material.
Yeah.
If I'm Gonzaga, it's like, oh, they don't think we're the best team in the country. It's a la Baylor, what Baylor did.
Yeah.
Said, all right, we'll show them.
That's all you need. That's literally, I mean, for Michael Woodson in that group to have a little bit extra, motivation. He said in the first interview with us, we're going to win the national title. And so for them to expect that, and they felt disrespected when they were like 7 or 8, I think, in the preseason poll. They're like, yeah, they think we're 7 or 8.
15.
All right, we'll see. Is that what they were? 15.
That's what I said.
Okay, yes. So, I mean, they're going to put the hurt on them. I'm excited to watch Baylor tennis do their thing.
Boom! Women's basketball just landed. Jeremy Hefner, Director of Athletics Performance, Strength and Conditioning Coach with women's basketball, staying put in Waco. Coach Hef, that's the first one. Nikki Collins' first staff hire. She's retaining Director of Athletic Performance, Jeremy Hefner. He's rocking with Nikki Collins and staying in Waco.
That's a big deal to keep the strength coach. I know we saw Aranda keep Corey Campbell his first year. That's a big deal to have some continuity because you spend so much time as a college athlete with your strength and performance staff. So to keep him, that is enormous for keeping those girls around because they'll have a familiar face all offseason until they get into what I would assume would be, preseason minicamp, things of that nature.
I know for a lot of folks that's a minor victory for Nikki Collins, but that's huge. It's huge when you put in perspective the fact that she's now retaining at least one member of the former staff. It shows that she wants to, that she's okay with having continuity in her staff. There are a lot of coaches that come in and say, I want my staff. I'm going to make this the way that I want it to be. Nikki Collins is not doing that as she has now hired Jeremy Hefner, who I adore Jeremy Hefner. He's spectacular at what he does, and he's staying in Waco.
And there's a lot more, I say, volatility with strength coaches, I would say. Or there's a lot more opportunity to be volatile, especially with a new head coach. If you're a strength coach, you're not tied to the scheme. You're not tied to how you want to have your offense run, your defense run. Like, they're very much independent in a lot of ways of specific schematics within a program. So if Hefner wanted to leave, it would be the easiest for him to leave. Like, that would be the easiest domino to fall the other way. So I completely agree. That's a lot bigger than I think people want to give credit for. That's a huge, huge get for Collins.
He would just go walk in back to Georgia.
Be out. Is he from Georgia?
I don't know. It's a great song. I'm just on a kick.
There you go.
So Hefner retained by Nikki Collins. That's a big recruiting pickup. Also, when you have 20 years in a staff, that's 20 years in a staff. You've built an empire. You built your family up somewhere. Your kids have gone to school here. These folks are local now. Jeremy Hefner's a local now. I mean, when the staff has been here that long, a decade or more, this is a tough place to leave.
Yeah, and I would think if Hefner's going to be staying, I would imagine other people on staff will stay as well. Like, he's going to have some comfort. Yeah, he's going to have some comfort built out around him to where he's excited about staying in Waco. So it's not going to be a totally new world for him. So that's a huge get because if he were going to leave, right now would be the most natural time to pivot. Like you said, been here 20 years. Yep. No idea what his family situation is, but like he could probably go to LSU. He could probably go other places.
I don't know. You're looking at, I think you have more continuity when you have 15 years at a place because you have family here.
Yeah. You know? So if you were to pivot, it's not like he's just up and moving after a year or so. Like he has some. I think the continuity could go either way.
That's true. I'll give you that one. Today, big conversation today. Is Baylor a basketball school? So there's a graphic that Baylor men's and women's basketball posted today. And it's 2020-2021 season. This from Fox. Schools ranked in every men's and women's poll. AP poll. Only 2. Baylor and Gonzaga. Ranked in every men's and women's AP poll across the course of this past season.
Okay.
So the question now becomes for me, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed more and hasn't been addressed as much as off seasons I thought it would be, is Baylor a basketball school? Can we officially, now that they've won a national championship, and that was the argument before, is that they didn't have a national championship, now that they've got a natty, Women's basketball's got 3 of them in the last 20 years. They're always a perennial powerhouse. Is Baylor a basketball school?
Well, I think it depends on how we want to define that. Because I think you and I were talking before the show, and it was, is Baylor a basketball school? How do you define basketball schools? If you want to define winning percentage, then we're an acrobatic and tumbling school. Because, if you want to define it by that, if you want to define it by what the fan base cares about, then I think it's hard to say Baylor's a basketball school because they haven't sold out the Farrell. They haven't had an overwhelming amount of support from the program unless they're winning a lot. And Baylor women's basketball obviously has won quite a bit. The men's had a lot of success this year. We're the team this year nationally. So there's a lot of things to look at. But I think if you want to look at, winning percentage, that's hard for me to say 100% we're a basketball school in that sense. I still think Baylor, being in the state of Texas, it is very difficult to make an argument outside of football being what Baylor is. Like, that's their calling card. People would burn down the city if they were to win a national title in football. And they almost did it for basketball, but they almost burned down a few neighborhoods. That's where I fall on the topic, but I think we may differ here.
Yes, wholeheartedly. If I've got to peg is Baylor a basketball school, I've got to go with yes. You've got 2 programs. It's not just, so football is just football. Baylor, you get men's and women's basketball. The men's team just won a national championship. Even without a national championship, I think they were teetering toward that basketball school label because football's just not been there consistently. I think if you look at this, if Scott Drew is doing what he's doing right now in 2005, then Baylor's absolutely a basketball school. Football was not even remotely relevant at Baylor in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s. Now I think it becomes different because the excitement that you had, Art Briles, RG3, that they built over the course of time here in those early years, taking Baylor to, New Year's Six bowls and the like. I think that built excitement about football. It still carries over today. However, looking at strictly win percentage, you're right. It's like acrobatics and tumbling. Mm-hmm. But win percentage of a major sport, it's still basketball. Baylor's a basketball school. Looking at revenue, Baylor would be a football school. Right. Any school would be a football school. But if you look at fan engagement, fan interaction, I think Baylor's still a basketball school because they don't sell out McLean Stadium either. I'm sure the ratio to fans that go to McLean is about the same to the ratio of fans that go to the Farrell Center.
I don't know. I'd push back on that. I'd push back on that. Freshman students, I think if you're not going to a football game and you're a freshman student, you're a loser. If you don't go to a basketball game, nobody really cares, right? Like, if you don't go to the football game, it's like, what are you doing with your life? Also, to touch on win percentage, I can't speak for the women's basketball program. The men's basketball program actually has a lower win percentage all time than the football program. 505 compared to 512.
All time, though. We're talking like in the last decade.
Last decade.
Are we saying is Baylor an all-time basketball school?
I think that's a conversation you want to approach it as, yeah.
Oh, wow. You approach it as all-time.
I kind of do, yeah.
I think this has a lot of volatility to it.
Okay.
I think this has a lot of you could Baylor's a basketball school now, but was not a basketball school in 1974 because they weren't.
I would even go in the last decade. I mean, Baylor football has won 2 Big 12 titles in the last 10 years. Yeah. And men's basketball won their first one ever. Yeah. This past year. So that's hard for me to get behind.
Well, they also won a national championship. Which says something. Yeah, one Big 12 title, one national championship compared to two Big 12 titles.
Mm-hmm. And football went to, 2 New Year's Six Bowls? Count Fiesta and Cotton Bowl. So, yeah, I mean, two New Year's Six Bowls. No, 3, including the Sugar Bowl. So 3 New Year's Six Bowls in the last 15 years.
I don't think Cotton wasn't included in the New Year's Six then.
It was a BCS. It was a New Year's Day game, I guess.
It
depends how much love we want to give it. But in my mind, it's like New Year's Six-esque because it's New Year's Six now.
It is close. It's kind of it was comparable to the Outback Bowl though. Yeah, because the Outback Bowl is like a December 31st, December 30th game. Cotton Bowl may have been the same thing. I don't even know if Cotton Bowl was New Year's Day.
No, Cotton Bowl was New Year's Day.
Even then?
100%.
Because I remember there was a lot of volatility in the Cotton Bowl too, right there at 2012.
Oh yeah, same day as Rose Bowl.
Some things flipped over with the Cotton Bowl.
No, yeah, I think that was the year they almost made the playoff too for the first year. That was
that's right. That's right. Yeah, you're right. That was New Year's Six because it was the Michigan State year was a Cotton Bowl year. I'm thinking Fiesta was New Year's. That was BCS with
UCF,
with Central Florida.
Blake Bortles.
Oh boy, that's tough.
The gang.
So last 10 years, you still make the argument that Baylor's a football school.
I think so. I think if you were to take the success of the basketball program and give it to the football program, Baylor would lose its mind.
But that's not
Baylor
the argument.
Baylor would lose its mind, isn't it?
No.
So what is the argument in your mind? Is it about fan support and fan engagement, or is it about winning percentage? Because winning percentage, I think you got to go back to the you call it BCS, New Year's Six, whatever you want to label it. The success there, in my mind, trumps what basketball has done.
Two Elite Eights, three now Elite Eights in the last decade, and a national championship and a Big 12 title. I think the Elite Eight is as big as a New Year's Six Bowl. 12 teams make a New Year's Six Bowl. So if you're comparing strictly to sports, and March Madness generates $1 gajillion in revenue, but that's across the board. With that, I think you got to factor everything in together. I don't think it's an argument necessarily of Baylor is a basketball school because of fan engagement. I think it comes down to not just fan engagement, but the history that comes with it, or even the relevance now. I think relevance is a big part of that. Baylor is the most relevant basketball program in the country now with a national championship.
Sure.
So I think you got to factor everything into this bowl that says, okay, now with all of this combined, is Baylor a football or a basketball school? And if you ask me right now, gun to my head, which one is it? Baylor's a basketball school.
I think it's tough to say right now because coming off a national title.
Well, then when do you want to say it?
I want to say, are we going last decade or are we going today?
Well, are we
going last decade or today?
Let's talk about today. Yes. Right now, as we currently sit in our current states, if we're going historically, it's still close.
Yeah,
how much do you include? Close. Because in the 40s and 50s, Baylor ran the gamut in the 1940s in men's basketball. Pew, pew, pew.
Okay.
Hurrah. You don't remember that?
No, I was asleep.
It was crazy. The 40s was a wild time.
They ran the gamut in the 40s.
They did.
So
they got the banners to show it.
I'm confused all that we're factoring in because in my mind, there's still a rebuttal to all those. The national title is the big trump card, right? And the national title is kind of why the recency bias has made this a conversation. Take away the national title.
No, but you can't.
Hear what I'm saying. If we're going to just factor in only the national title, like how much weight are we giving that? One national title.
A large amount. Significant weight.
Compared to three, again, they lost all of them, but 3 New Year's Six / BCS Bowls, which not comparable, but I think it puts you in the ballpark of, okay, Baylor was competitive on a national stage, which is a big deal. More Big 12 titles, which I think is like, okay, we got to look at that as well. Like, I don't think you can make them a basketball school because they have one magical season.
Yeah. Okay. 3 Elite Eights in the last decade, including the national championship run. 1 Final Four, again, that includes that same run. You're a call away from a Final Four 10 years ago. Along with that, so it's not as if Baylor's just had one magical season and basketball has been irrelevant the last decade. On top of that, 12 teams every year make a New Year's Six Bowl. There are 6 New Year's Six Bowl games. Yes. So carry the 1, 2, 12 teams.
Okay.
Elite Eight. I mean, you're looking at how much. Yes, it's rare. It's an honor to go to a New Year's Six Bowl as a football team.
Huge.
But a national championship in basketball is exponentially bigger.
Yes.
I'd rather win a national championship in basketball than go to 5 straight New Year's Six Bowls.
Yes, so now this becomes a conversation of winning percentage, right? So it's like who is one more.
Does it? I think you have to put all of it in together. That's part of the conversation.
Yes.
That's a leg of the conversation.
Okay, so I think there you can go back and forth. National title's like the trump card, but like kind of a wash under there, right? Like you can probably go back and forth. Obviously, the last 5 years, Baylor basketball is probably where you side. Like you have the slight edge to that.
Yeah.
So
slight?
I think it's slight.
National champion in the last 5 years. Baylor football has a losing record by probably 20 games, maybe more.
I think that's just way wrong.
1-11, 7-6. So you now have that's still a 10 game.
Okay.
You're 10
11-3. So
now you're 2 games under, and then 7.
They won 2 Big 12 titles.
Yeah, and 6-6 is even. So you're like You're 9 games under 500 in the last five years or so.
I'm gonna factor.
You said 5 years though. 5 years.
Yeah.
The last Big 12 title was 2014. It's 2021.
I don't think they're 20 games under 500.
They're not 20 games under 500 in the last 5 years. What are you talking about? Give me your gauge here.
My gauge here is like if you're gonna talk about the last 5 years, Baylor has been really competitive, and I think they're probably. Obviously, like the national title is the trump card, right? So like you give the edge to Baylor basketball, but I don't think the disparity is quite the same. And I think that's something that we got to talk about a little more because like teams are good year in and year out. Like Baylor basketball, if they, for whatever reason, were to be horrific in 3 years, then are we still a basketball school? You know, like if they just fall off the face of the earth, then it's like, well, how much weight do you give the national title? You know? Because like right now, I think we're all kind of victim to national title was a big deal. And it was awesome, and it was historic, and they should be applauded for it 1,000,000%. But it's hard for me to get on the train of like, okay, this is for sure our identity of who Baylor is as a school. Like maybe today, probably Baylor's a basketball school because that's what people are excited about. That's what people are tracking closely. Got a guy going to go in the top 10. Like all these things contribute to that. If you're going to look at the history of, let's say, 5 years might be too small sample size. The last 10 years, I think there's a real case to be made for Baylor as a football school. And that's just the winning part.
I think it comes down to consistency. And there are a lot of people in this country, when you say, what is Baylor sports, Baylor athletics, what is it synonymous with? Mm-hmm. And 90 is a big number. A lot of people would say women's basketball. 100%.
Would say women's basketball?
Yeah, absolutely.
You think so?
If someone says, what is UConn athletics synonymous with?
Yes.
Women's basketball.
Yes, 100%.
What is Baylor athletics synonymous with?
But see, UConn...
Women's basketball.
UConn has no other sports that are that good.
Men's basketball won 2 national championships in the last decade at UConn.
Yes, pretty good. But,
Calhoun,
compared to what the women's team's done, like, it's not even close, right? Not even close. Football was FCS prior to... Like, at UConn, they've been FCS. They just got into FBS. They might go back down to FCS. They're so bad. So, like, the I guess playing field is not so level there because you have so much success that's been sustained over time. And women's basketball has been good for a long time.
22 decades.
Yes, but
consistency.
In the state of Connecticut. In the state of Texas, I think that's a very big difference.
I still think that if you ask a lot of people on the national scale, Baylor athletics, what is it synonymous with? That there's a large portion of people that still say women's basketball because of the consistency. Because every time you turn on ESPN and there's something about women's basketball, it's either Baylor, UConn, Notre Dame, Stanford.
See, I just question how big. See, that goes to like how many people, how much of an audience is there for women's basketball? And I think the answer is like not a ton. So it's like, is it a national calling card? Is it a winning percentage?
Still.
Is it I mean, like,
because you're always there.
Is that your calling card?
Because you're always there. I think consistency is a factor there. So what I'm saying is Baylor's not a women's basketball school. Baylor can be a basketball school when you factor in men's and women's basketball together.
I think you got to pick a horse there.
You got to pick a horse.
I think you got to pick a horse.
I think you can say, is Baylor a basketball school? UConn was a basketball school, winning women's and men's championships in the same season.
Yes, but if women's basketball was good and UConn men's wasn't, then they're like, are you still a basketball school? No, you're a women's basketball school. So like they've had, like Baylor's had the luxury of having both programs be good, which is phenomenal. And I think like nobody is going to knock Baylor for that. They shouldn't knock Baylor for that. But I think you do sort of need to pick a horse. Like I think it's, in this conversation, I have a hard time siding with both of those at like 2 against 1 in that sense. Because if one is a down year, then what?
We want your thoughts. Is Baylor a basketball school? And if not, what are they? Steven from Virginia is on the phone line. Steven, thanks for holding on there. What's going on?
Hey guys, I'm really excited to talk about this.
Oh my gosh. Steven, did you get a metal bucket and call us with your head in that metal bucket? Because I tell you what, it sure does, I can tell.
Can y'all hear me?
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Thank you for taking the metal bucket off your head.
So I'd like to discuss what the parameters exactly are for being a basketball school. And if we are a basketball school, does that mean we are not a football school?
Yes.
Right. You got to pick one. You got to pick a horse.
Can't be one. You have to be one or the other?
Yes.
You have to be one or the other. You got to pick a horse.
That's tough. Well, see, I feel like if you're going to be a basketball school, you have to have 3 things. You have to have won a championship. You have to care about basketball in terms of fan support and the money spent on your basketball program in the top third of your conference. And then 3, you're either in a place that cares more about basketball than football, like UCLA, Syracuse, Kansas, Connecticut, or you're in a place that just flat out dominates its conference on a regular basis, like Duke or Kentucky or Villanova or Gonzaga.
Okay.
If you're using those terms, I think Baylor is a basketball school. But when you start talking about it on a practical level, being in the state of Texas, when y'all say you have to be one or the other, being in the state of Texas is, I've heard national media guys say that they think that people would just lose their minds more over a football championship than they would a basketball championship. And that's probably true. Personally, I probably enjoy the basketball more because I love basketball. But, football is still king in Texas. So, I mean, Drake, do you consider Arkansas a basketball school? Y'all would fit those 3 criteria.
I would almost consider Arkansas a baseball school now. I think basketball kind of has a resurgence. I do believe it's history. I think we look back 10 years from now and say Baylor is a basketball school because when you have that Arkansas basketball won a championship in '94, and they've ridden that championship out till still today because that's the last major championship in school history. I want to compare something better, though. I think a better comparison to Baylor being a basketball school and why is Houston. Houston's a basketball school to me. That's why I think Baylor's a basketball school, because Baylor and Houston athletics, I do believe, are pretty comparable.
I actually agree. When you bring the Houston one up, and both of and here's the other thing. If you're the best school at basketball in your state and you're in a large basketball area, so like Duke is the best in North Carolina, UCLA is the best in California, Baylor is the best in Texas. I mean, I'd say Baylor's the best basketball program in the state of Texas.
Yeah, in the country right now.
So I guess that really, it really becomes difficult because if we won a national championship in football, I mean, people would lose their minds in a way that I don't really think is appropriate by law enforcement standards.
It's unfathomable. It is unfathomable. If Baylor ever wins a football national championship ever, there are schools that will not do it until the world ends. If that happens, this place will go absolutely. In my lifetime, it will not happen. But this place will go nuts.
Oh, I would definitely say that I've made peace with that.
Yeah.
When they were fighting with TCU that one year to get in the playoff and they didn't get it, I was like, you know what? I can live with the fact that they're not. I was just like, and especially as, not to get off on a tangent, as long as they're doing it the way they're doing it.
Right.
We're just, it's just not going to happen. They'd have to expand the playoffs and give automatic bids to teams who win or make their conference championship games to even start sniffing that kind of opportunity. I do want to ask you all a Bear Games question before you ask me a Bear Games question.
Got it.
We're going to turn it to football. Which of these games is a tougher game? So, the one that they are more likely to lose.
Okay.
At TCU?
Okay.
Or at home versus Iowa State?
Ooh.
I think they're much more likely to lose at home against Iowa State.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think Amon G. Carter is somewhere that has been not too unfriendly to the Bears. I don't think they're going to be. It's not going to be a half and half crowd, but it's going to be 70-30. There'll be a Baylor. When I was there, when Mayers made the 53-yarder, it was a pretty favorable Baylor crowd. While it was, again, TCU is going to outnumber, but that being said, Baylor will still have a good presence there. Iowa State's just going to be built different this next season. No matter what kind of atmosphere they walk into in Waco, Iowa State and Brock Purdy are going to win that game.
Yeah, I love that game was at home. You look at this year, Baylor got TCU at home. It was 23-33, and Baylor had no offense. Like we saw that time and time and again. Baylor basically played with they played with no offense the entire year. So with the confidence I have with the offense just looking more competent this season, I think they'll be able to take care of TCU. Iowa State just brings so much back. I'm not totally sold on Purdy, but I think he's good enough to get it done. Also, Breece Hall, he's the best back in the country, and that's going to be a tough order for this Baylor defense. I like Ika. I think they match up better with Iowa State. I think they actually end up going probably 2-1 between Texas, Oklahoma, and Iowa State. So whichever of those you get.
Did you just say 2-1?
2-1, I think so.
2-1 between Texas, Oklahoma, and Iowa State.
I think they will.
You're a madman.
I'm a nuts.
They're winning 11 games if they do that.
I think it's possible.
You're very optimistic, my friend, because you're not going to like the bonus question.
Bring it.
How many is the bare minimum games that they have to win for you to feel like this season was an improvement over last year?
5.
I will give you that I have 4.
Okay.
Wow.
4 is where I'm at.
Good base. I like 5. I think 5. There's no reason Baylor shouldn't win 5 games in football this next season.
Yeah. I mean, 6 would be an improvement, right? Because you got the 3 non-conference, and then you get Kansas, and then you get Kansas State, which was those were the 2 wins this year, and then you get one more Big 12 win. So 6 would be an improvement. I think 6 is probably where I fall. It's a bowl game, and you get more Big 12 wins than a year ago. I'm probably happy with 6. That's an improvement.
Steven, yesterday's Bear Games question was your most demoralizing loss. Today is your biggest win, your best victory as an athlete. What is the most dominant game that you've ever played in where you just ran circles around your opponent, or as a fan, your team ran circles around the opponent?
Oh, wow.
The best player game that I ever had was, I think, a couple of we weren't really the basketball team cut a lot of us after junior going into senior year, and we ended up all deciding to play against each other in association. And I had a teammate, I have been friends with almost every single teammate I've ever had, but this guy and I did not get along.
All right.
And he and I were facing each other, and he walked up to me before the game and said, "You aren't going to hit a single three." And I had 30.
Yes, sir.
With 7 threes and 2 bank threes.
Oh.
And look, we lost, 63-33, but I really don't want to hear it because I had 30.
He said, we lost by 30, but I had 30.
Boy, you got 30 of those 36.
I don't even want to hear it.
Talk that talk,
Steven,
Steve.
thanks for your call, man.
Later, guys.
See you, Steve.
Going right from that to Matt in D.C. Matt in D.C. Football school, basketball school. You've been a fan for a long time. What say you?
It's very simple. But before I get to that, I got to give a shout out to J.D. If we go 2-1 between Oklahoma, Texas, and Iowa State, I'll be talking to y'all at Arlington for the Big 12 title game because that means if we win we'll win two of those. That means we're going to win a lot more. And then, like I always say, you don't have to win all 9 conference games. You only got to win 8 of the 9 to get to Arlington and go from there.
Matt in D.C., on that note, if Baylor goes 2-1 against Texas, Oklahoma, and Iowa State, is that what it was?
Yep.
Will you buy J.D. a porterhouse?
I'll buy you a whatever the hell you want, man.
All right. We got that.
Yeah,
awesome.
I will too.
Good. We got this on,
I
camera?
can mail you some Omaha steaks.
I love it.
Some Omaha steaks.
Nice.
I'm eating good then here in a minute. Appreciate that, Matt in D.C.
But to the football basketball school, it's very simple how you define a football basketball school. What do the fans care about most, and what does the administration care about most? And you can see it very simple. These are the top basketball schools in the country. It's Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, Kansas, Indiana, not in any specific order, but all those schools have one thing in common. They all care about basketball and don't give a damn if they ever win in football. Can you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I really think Kentucky is so cool with winning like 7 football games a year, if that.
Yeah.
Kansas being the same way.
They just want to be bowl eligible, and they don't even care if they're not. But with football, I'd say we're always going to be a football school. But what I like about you could say our entire athletic program is I think we're almost like an everything school, kind of like Stanford. We invest in all the programs, and we and MAC, we won't tolerate losing at all in any sport from what I've seen.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good question. I think that's a good way to phrase it. Kentucky as a whole, I mean, don't get me wrong. When they win in football, they get excited. Benny Snell and Terry Wilson, all those guys are what they did, like, I think 2-3 years ago, and they made a run and they beat Penn State in the bowl game. Like, they got excited about that, but that was just the icing on the cake. And I think that's a good way to say it.
That's great.
Just football is going to rule. And we'll know next year, depending. Let's look at basketball attendance next year if we return a top 10 team and we're still only getting 5,000 people in the stands.
Which will be the case.
That'll tell you the real story.
That will be the case. That's how it goes. I think, Matt in D.C., you make a great point here, and I do want to say for those that are watching on Twitter, go to the SicEm365 YouTube page, because that's a much more convenient place to watch the old up-tempo, or download the SicEm365 app and listen there. Matt in D.C., I think you make a great point here that maybe we missed, and that is if Baylor football is the number 7 team in the country, it does not matter who they are playing that week at McLean Stadium. There will be 48,000 people in a 45,000 capacity stadium rocking that place.
Easy.
Rocking that place if Baylor's number 7 in the country. If Baylor's number 7 in the country in men's basketball and it's a Tuesday night and they're playing TCU, there will be probably 5,000 people in a capacity 10,000 arena. So I think you make a really good point there.
And I'm kind of over the whole midweek game problem attendance because a lot of the big fans come from, we got to drive like 2 hours to Waco.
True.
So I'm always looking for, make sure the Saturday games are packed. But I mean, we got how many undergrads we got? We got 16,000 undergrads, 20,000 total students, and we can't get that are on campus in Waco. And then we just got to do more Waco outreach and get what we call Joe Waco or just the local fans getting to the games. We can do that. The midweek games will be packed, and then the Saturday will stay packed. But hey, I always say, if you want to go to the game, go to the game.
Yeah. Well, you look at the West Virginia game on Halloween, that thing was packed. So, you little Thursday night action. I mean, folks are instead of taking your kids trick-or-treating, which are memories you can't get back, don't blink, instead they're going to a football game in Waco. When you pack the place out, I think it says a lot. But Matt in D.C., yesterday was your most demoralizing loss. Today is your greatest victory as either an athlete or a fan. What is the biggest win that you've ever gotten?
Lost, I guess, I did play high school football at Vega, and so the one good win, we didn't make the playoffs when I was here. Now they're a powerhouse, but you took me back to the The year is, I believe, 2001, and we are playing the defending state championship team, Gatesville Hornets.
Oh, yeah.
Who we had previously almost beat the year before, but we had a inadvertent whistle on a onside kick. It wasn't an onside kick. They dropped the kickoff during the game, and an inadvertent whistle. They kept the ball to Gatesville. It would have been their only loss of their undefeated state title run in 2000. So they come to our house the next year, and we literally just beat the living hell out of them. I think we won like 17-12 or something like that. We put two or three of their kids were carted off the field, and there was no way in hell we were going to lose that game, and we just went. We lost our minds.
17-12.
Unfortunately, we ended up losing to China Spring, didn't make the playoffs. But beating Gatesville after they won the state championship back in 2001 was probably my personal biggest victory.
Nice. I love that.
That's really
Matt and DC, thanks for your call.
Thank you.
I love it. I love these questions when people can like dig up something out of their past and like it makes them like, I remember.
There's always some pride along with it.
It just feels good.
What's yours here? I want to hear your answer to that. Or we got someone on the line.
I got somebody on the line here, but I got to think about it. Okay, I got a couple that are brewing.
Yeah.
But so we got a first time caller here. Is it Frank? Am I saying that right? Is that how you pronounce Frank?
Frank, you got it, buddy.
Frank, what's going on, man? Thanks for jumping into the conversation. Baylor, a basketball school, a football school, maybe a tennis school. What say you?
Well, I'm glad that Matt and DC kind of got on before I did to bring a little levity to the conversation, because it's definitely true that when we're talking about football versus basketball school, I think the most important thing is what do alumni care about, and then what do prospective students think about that school? So, like, when they envision my experience at this school, what is that going to look like? If you've got a kid who goes to Indiana who has sucked for such a long time, at basketball, they still look forward to those basketball game days, right?
Yeah.
A kid who's going to North Carolina with a very solid, reputable basketball program or football program, they're still thinking about going to the Dean Dome. If a kid is envisioning coming to Waco, they're thinking about going to tailgates. They're thinking about pregame, before the game. They're thinking about college game day. It's all football. And yeah, the basketball thing's icing on the cake, but this is just like I think if we're being honest, basketball is definitely the appetizer to the football entree in Baylor sports. And I say that as a lifelong Baylor hoops fan. I want nothing more than to see Baylor basketball succeed, but we are a football school, and I think we'll stay that way as long as Baylor's located in Texas.
Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to. I'm glad you said that. This is a conversation with a lot of facets, but what it comes down to, for me at least, or what I give the most weight to, is pride. Like, this program, this school, takes the most pride in their football program, and that's because they're in the state of Texas. Like, I think it's very hard to get around that, even with basketball having so much success on the men's and women's side, which is phenomenal, and I think only bolsters the Baylor brand. When football does well, that's what gets this university really, really excited, and that's what they care about, and I think attendance shows that, unfortunately.
I also believe that what would change that is tradition. I firmly believe Baylor does not build, from an administrational standpoint, an opportunity for basketball students to go to a basketball game and get the same experience you get in football. There's the running the Baylor line. There's the tradition of Baylor football and going into, even when Baylor wasn't good at football, there's still that tradition there of fans having just a part in the game, whereas in basketball, you don't get that. They've even moved the fans off the court now, the students off the court now, which hopefully changes in the new field house. But I think it starts, a large portion of getting more fan engagement from students starts in the administration or in the fan engagement department at Baylor.
I see what you're saying, and I don't want to act like I'm privy to a lot of those regulations because I wasn't a student at Baylor. I don't know exactly what they do or don't do for students when it comes to basketball games.
Think about what's different in football. Football, you have the Baylor line. That's why people show up.
Well, how does the Baylor line start?
This is real talk. People show up, freshmen, solely to run the Baylor line at football games.
Yeah, for sure.
But most of them don't give a flying flip about what's going on the field.
Watch your mouth.
I know, we got close.
First of all, this is not a flipping show. All right.
Whoa, you can't. You just said it back to me. So, Frank, I'm sorry, Frank. We're just screaming over you.
Sorry, Frank.
What, Frank? What's going on?
Well, I think that, Drake, you made a really compelling argument for why Baylor is a football school. All the tradition, the pageantry that goes into a football game at Baylor is orders of magnitude different than a Baylor basketball game. And I'd love if the basketball program stepped up their game. I'd love if that became the kind of event that football has become recently, but it's just not. And I still think that, like, if you're thinking about a prospective student, or if you're thinking about like that average engagement alumni, not the diehard sports fan, and not the kid who never like attended athletic events at all, but like your average engagement Baylor sports fan, football is the entree. I think football is the one that carries the water.
Well, I would push back and say, what is Baylor not doing that other schools across the country are? I think obviously there's Duke with the Cameron Crazies, and that's a big deal, and that's like the smaller stadium argument. But I mean, you can't run the line in a basketball game. Like, there's just things that I think are within.
Never say never.
I haven't seen it done. I mean, what is Baylor not doing that you think they need to do?
Where do they put the students though?
I don't know.
think that's the biggest thing.
So,
Football says we value student voice, we value the energy of students. So they put them right behind the visiting team, and it's a premium seat for a kid who's coming into Baylor. It's also saying, like, you guys impact the game, and I think that right now, and this isn't Scott Drew's fault, but right now where students are placed, it says, like, you guys, we're glad y'all showed up. We're going to hand you a newspaper that you can crumple up, but that's it. And I think that if that were to change in the new arena, it significantly impacts the game day experience for students.
That is funny. That is funny.
I will say this. If I'm a Baylor basketball fan, everybody in the studio, I want to get some thoughts on this too. Like, give me a little thumbs up or a Jack, this is at you, Armstrong, you too. We've got Hayden Bumpus with us today and Marquise Cooley.
Yes,
I don't know if you guys are big basketball guys. But if I'm going to watch a Baylor basketball game, the last place I want to sit in the arena is with the Bear Pit. Like, that's the last place I want to be, because Jared Butler goes to spot up for a three in the corner, and where I'm sitting, I have no idea if it went in because there's a whole basketball goal there. Or there's someone standing in front of me who's just jumping up and down and waving their arms just to be stupid, because they're not there for fun. They're there because they got a piece of newspaper they got to throw up in the air. Like, it's not – they don't pay attention. Like, football games, the Baylor line – oh, here's a tangent. The Baylor line at football games is like a high school football game, because – 75% of the people around you don't care about the game. They're either aimlessly yelling on their phone or taking pictures. They are solely at the game for the tradition of the Baylor line and getting to wear their line jersey and say they did it. They're not there to watch football.
That's so accurate.
And if basketball was the same way, people would if basketball had that same, like, oh yeah, wear your line jersey, which I'm not saying that should be a thing, but if basketball had that kind of tradition built for students and was engaged towards students like football is, they would have a much better, much easier time getting butts in seats.
Well, that in itself feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, that kind of feels like what came first, chicken or the egg. Like, well, there's not traditions here because the students haven't gravitated towards it, or it's because there's traditions here because the students do gravitate towards it. Like, the Baylor line's a fun thing, but also tailgating started at Baylor, and tailgating started because people love football in the state of Texas, and people love football for Baylor.
Tailgate for basketball.
Tailgate for basketball?
Tailgate for basketball.
I'm just saying, like, those things aren't built in from a tradition standpoint that the students can control. Like, students can make basketball games fun, and a lot of things that are fun about Baylor football games.
But the Bear Pit doesn't.
Yeah, that's
they just get there early, save the best seats
so
in the Bear Pit for themselves.
If there was a demand, if it was a football school, if it was a basketball school, I should say, then Baylor fans, Baylor students can, like, take the bull by the horns and do something and make it a fun, make fun traditions. The best traditions are not implemented by the administration.
We're forgetting Frank again. Frank, I'm sorry.
Bad,
Frank, we're just rolling right now. What say you on that regard, Frank, as far as just student engagement?
Well, here's another tangent. Is that the thing about tailgating is that it's an event because you only get like 6-7 games a year, right? And that in basketball, like, it's just not feasible to do something like that on a consistent basis. You know what is consistent? You know what is feasible? Show up to a downtown arena that has bars and restaurants around it.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, everybody wants to do that. Like, there are no college students who are like, yeah, I'd prefer not to go to a bar restaurant before a great basketball game with a top 10 team. That is there probably are some of those students, but I didn't know them. That is fun. That's so much fun. What's not fun is walking across a freaking barren parking lot through the handicap spaces to get your paper and a popcorn or something. It's just it's not an event right now, but it could be. And I think a big part of that is building downtown.
I like that. I think building downtown is going to be I'm pro that. We'll have that conversation this week. Frank, Bear Game's question. Yesterday, most demoralizing loss. Today, your biggest victory, whether it be as a fan or an athlete. What is the one game where you were like, oh, man, we're just beating the crap out of them?
Also really happy that I'm on after Matt because my biggest victory was versus the La Vega Pirates.
Nice.
They were up by 4 points on us with less than a minute to go. All they had to do was kneel. And they fumbled the snap. Some awful things happened at the bottom of the pile. We ended up with the ball out and up. Touchdown with zeros on the clock. Send us to playoffs is awesome.
Wow.
You don't want to be at the bottom of the pile. That's
Frank,
not a place you want to be.
Where did you play?
Lorena. Proud Leopard.
Wow, he's a leopard. He's a leopard. I love it. Thanks for the call, Frank. Call us again sometime. First-time caller.
Yeah, good time, guys.
Sweet.
Thanks, Frank.
We got G-Dub on the line. G-Dub, we gotta hit a break right here, but we'll get to you here in just 1 second. Hold on that line. 5 more minutes, and we'll get to you and get your thoughts on this whole Baylor basketball school thing and get your questions as well. I'm Drake Toll, J.D. PicKell, oh baby, roll call, Armstrong Sims, Hayden Bumpus, Jack McKenzie, and Marquise Cooley, all in studio today. A live studio audience, full house. Full house. Everywhere you look, there's a heart. A hand to hold on to. Speaking of hands to hold on to, I bet if I picked up the phone right now, I bet if I made one phone call, just I need someone to hold my hand, that if I got on the horn with Banson Business Services, they'd send somebody my way to hold my hand. Because the first hour of SicEm365's Up-Tempo is brought to you by Banson Business Services, owned by Baylor grad and SicEm365 premium member Jonathan Green, who, if I called them for someone to hold my hand, I bet you Jonathan Green would be the one to show up.
Yeah, I mean, I know they'd help you run your business for sure.
They'd help me run my business.
You might have to pay a little extra. You want the handhold, but taxes, they probably do that.
Well, I don't have to pay much in general, so I can pay a little extra for a handhold. Banson Business Services offers a full suite of business support, financial services. They specialize in bookkeeping, payroll, outsourced CFO, and consulting. They can they'll help you with what?
Yeah, help you run your taxes.
They'll help you with your taxes. Tax season's coming around. Tax season's here.
Tax season actually is over in 6 days.
Their business helps you run your business. Don't commit tax fraud.
Don't do it.
The FDA, the FBRI is going to come to your door and say, "Where's your taxes?" And you say, "Oh, Banson Business Services already did them for me." And then the FDRI goes home because
they say wrong house.
They say you're
false
right.
alarm.
They did it. Visit SicEm365.com/Banson for more information. Don't go anywhere. This is Up-Tempo.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO.
It's Tuesday, and the calm before the storm of a big weekend in Baylor sports has set in. Surrounding the university, though, Andy Thomas has been named a Collegiate Baseball Newspaper National Player of the Week. The fifth-year senior hit 8 for 11 with 3 home runs and 9 RBI in the 3-game series against Kansas State. Thomas was also honored with a nomination for the Senior Class Award. Only 10 seniors across the country are currently still in the running to receive the honor, as Thomas has made it to one of the final rounds. You can cast a fan vote for the Bear to win by going to seniorclassaward.com and voting Andy Thomas. Elsewhere in baseball, the threat of inclement weather has canceled tonight's game against Incarnate Word in Waco. The Bears' next competition will come this weekend with a series against number 21 Oklahoma State in Stillwater. And junior All-American women's golfer Guerline Kaur will get a shot at the 76th U.S. Women's Open, set to take place June 3rd to 6th at storied Olympic Club in San Francisco. Kaur is just one of a handful of amateurs that qualified for the major. Around the nation, Oral Roberts basketball star Max Asmus has declared for the NBA draft, but will retain his eligibility. Emmanuel Miller, Texas A&M's leading scorer, is transferring to TCU to play basketball next season. The NCAA has proposed issuing technical fouls for players who flop. And Central Connecticut has hired Fairfield assistant Patrick Sellers as its new basketball coach. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. In Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up-Tempo.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Ram Truck Month means special pricing on the new 2021 Ram trucks at Allen Samuels. The three-peat Motor Trend Truck of the Year, Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab, has special values up to $5,500 or 0% for 84 months. Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco. Central Texas new Ram commercial truck headquarters with 3,500 and 5,500 chassis cabs and other great work trucks. Visit Allen Samuels today. It's Ram Truck Month.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio. Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Sit down, Bob. I'm not happy, Bob. Not happy.
Now, back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll and J.D. PicKell for the Blonde Boys Power Hour.
Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we're on Sway in the Morning.
What?
You ever see that?
No.
Sway in the Morning?
What, could you explain?
Yeah.
I know. Even Armstrong Sims knows what.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Drake Toll alongside J.D. PicKell, Marquise Cooley. Gosh, dang it, I almost said Andrew Robertson. I want to see how fast he could go. Jack McKenzie, Hayden Bumpus, or Bump, as we have learned.
Big Bump, baby.
Apparently his closest friends call him Bump.
Bump around. Bump.
I don't
Bump around.
I don't like that.
Get up,
Big
get up.
I don't like
get
big
down.
bump.
Big Bump. That's it. It's sticking. And then Armstrong Sims is here as well. Running the mothership. The 101 Elm Avenue. We got G-Dub on the phone line here. G-Dub! What is... Oh, man, that ended abruptly. What's going on, G-Dub?
Not much, guys. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, G-Dub. It's a day where we argue about, is Baylor a basketball school?
One of those days.
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, it's hard to say that after they win the national championship and everything.
Right.
But here's the thing: you go back pre-COVID year, and go back and look at the team that had Freddie and all them. Go back and look at the amount of people that were at the game, like the Xavier game and the Villanova game. And then you go back and look at the Oklahoma game, the 2019 game against Oklahoma, and compare numbers there, because how many people were there for that Oklahoma game? People want it. That's the thing. People just gravitate more towards football.
Yeah, in Texas especially.
Yeah,
riddle me this too. I think it's in general. If Kansas 07 numbers, I want to see I'm going to look it up. The 2007 Kansas football attendance.
Season.
The crazy Kansas year.
They also have a dinky stadium.
They do, but it's it fits way more people than the basketball arena. G-Dub, what are your questions for us today? I always like these.
All right, so I tweeted this at y'all yesterday about the NBA deadline. So if Butler hasn't put his name in yet, it being this late, do you think he will at all?
I bet he will.
Because the deadline's at the end of the month.
It's approaching.
Yeah.
I still vote Jared Butler. I was 50-50. Now I'm 65-35. I think to carry the one. 65-35. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, I think there's a shot that Jared's got a shot at being in a Baylor uniform next season.
A lot of shots out here. Like spring break in Cancun. A lot of shots for everybody.
Like a vaccination on a Tuesday.
Like a vaccination on a Tuesday. But he just graduated. Like, it would make sense if he were to declare in the next week, like, say, hey, I want to finish my schoolwork. I want to get all that off the plate and then take that next jump into my professional career. Like, that makes sense. The 30th is still 20 days away, whatever today is. So I'm not super alarmed yet. We get inside of a week, I'm saying, Jared, why are you still here? Let's talk about this. Go pro, Jared. You can be one of the best. Like, I shouldn't say one of the best. You can be one of the best prospects out there. He'll be a first rounder. It makes a lot of sense for him to go. Hoping he does it before the week of.
The other thing is you don't know what the NBA scouts have said either.
True.
I have a hard time imagining he'd get less than a first-round grade, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, after graduating, I don't think he's going to get a better grade than he will get this season. I mean, he was up for Player of the Year.
Yeah, and he's the NCAA tournament player. He's the player of the tournament, which I don't think he should have been. He shouldn't have been. Davion Mitchell should have, but it also checks out. Jared Butler, from a leadership standpoint, everything all factors in. It's not like it wasn't deserved. So I do think his draft stock should be higher than... He has a first-round draft stock, so I'm surprised he hasn't gone. G-Dub, our question for you, though, we're getting close to dead or alive here. Our question for you, biggest win that you've ever experienced?
So we were playing our Cross Creek rival, and we were down in basketball, and we were down 15 going into the fourth quarter, and we came back and won by like 8.
Wow. It's the comebacks that get you. I'll do it. I think it's tough to, like, your biggest blowout win versus your biggest life win. Yeah. It's a very different question. Yeah. We may ask that tomorrow. G-Dub, thanks for calling. Good to hear from you.
Yes, sir.
See you later, G-Dub.
There were a couple games in our preseason in high school where we played, like, these public schools, and they're just like we were paying them to play us. We're in the triple option, so I'd get like 3 or 4 carries a game. There were some of those games where it was like 3 touches, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting the second half.
Yeah.
So it's not that emphatic, but it was like I just want to answer that
Felt
question.
good.
I just want to feel cool after saying we lost 66-0 yesterday.
You did say that yesterday. I feel like we didn't. We just there's so little time in the day. Celebrity, we're coming up on Dead or Alive. Also, Moon Urson. It has been reported that Moon Urson has entered the transfer portal. She said she's keeping her options open, which everyone says that. But it looks like LSU will be a likely landing spot.
Okay.
So
she could come back though too.
Yeah, she can come back, but it looks like Moon Urson's gonna go ahead and test the waters. That's per Howard Megdal of the 9 newsletter and Next Hoops. So writes for Baseball Pro as well. He reports that she is in the transfer portal. So we'll see where that gets us. Thank you, Howard. Dead or Alive? Cue the music. Nice. Are these celebrities, 9 of them, are they dead or are they alive? Armstrong Sims, are you ready?
I am ready.
Joshua Dalton PicKell, are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Number 1, Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld works for like Marvel, the comics, all that jazz, and he is the creator of Deadpool.
Alive.
So I'm going to say he's alive.
Alive. 53 years old, and his son is an ATO at Baylor.
Also an Orange Lutheran alum, Luke Liefeld.
Really?
Yeah.
Also, you
that's
said he
right.
works.
Yeah. Dang it. Yeah, I did. Well,
that was a good one, though. I like that. That was a good
Clint Black, Killin' Time.
Yeah.
Country singer, Killin' Time.
Ooh.
I say alive, but I don't know.
Killing Time. Let's say Clint Black's dead.
It's killing time.
He's alive.
He's killed too much time.
He is killing time's
Keep
not
killing
killing
time,
him.
Clint.
59 years old and alive.
It's
Merle
killing him.
Haggard.
It's killing him.
Merle, stop.
Merle
Get some
Haggard.
help. Merle Haggard. First thing I remember knowing.
He's dead.
Lonesome
dead,
whistle
too.
blowing. Dead. Would have been 79.
Dang, Merle.
John Denver.
he died,
Country road.
Oh, love John Denver. He's dead.
Take
R.I.P.
me
John
home.
We all know
He is.
John
Yeah, he's
Denver.
dead.
R.I.P.
He's
John Denver.
77.
You don't have to sing that.
Joe Perry. He played drums for Aerosmith.
Ooh.
Played. I don't know. Dead? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
I'll say
He might be alive.
I'll say dead based on that reaction.
Gosh dang it, he's
And he's
alive at
alive,
70.
yeah.
He's alive at
you
70.
tricked
JD,
me.
you could have tied it up.
You tricked me.
Marvin Gaye. Let's get it on. Marvin
Dead.
Gaye.
He's dead.
Got dead at 82. These are too relevant.
I love Marvin Gaye.
Shaka Khan. Take a look. It's in a book. Reading Rainbow.
Alive. Give me Shaka Khan
Shaka
alive.
Khan's alive.
Shaka Khan's alive. 68.
There we go.
Travis Tritt.
Alive.
Here's a quarter.
Alive.
Call someone
Thank
who
you, Drake.
cares.
I'm gonna say dead.
It's alive. 58. Armstrong's going to win.
Dang.
Last one for kicks and giggles. Sonny Bono. Of Sonny
Bono.
and Cher. They're divorced.
Okay.
Ooh, dead.
Alive.
You think like once he's divorced, he's just got to die?
Did I say that?
Yeah, he's dead. 80.
I'll bring that down. We got an ad playing in the back.
Yeah,
That's
he
my
is
bad.
dead. He would have been 85 today, but Cher's alive. Cher is alive.
Share the love.
So I destroyed.
There you go, Cher.
Yep. Give it up for Cher, everybody.
There you go. Joe from
Way to be
Tulsa.
alive. Way to be alive. Way to be.
Cher's watching today. Sorry we had to dig up some old memories.
be.
Digging up bones. Randy Travis, dead or alive? Tough subject.
Randy Travis is dead.
Yeah. He's
he's
dead.
alive.
He's alive. He had a
Randy
stroke.
Travis is?
He had a
Stroke, but
stroke.
he's,
No.
He's still kicking.
He is still kicking.
He's
Stroke?
not kicking very
He had a stroke,
emphatically.
unfortunately. But
Dang.
he's still alive.
I love Randy Travis.
He is alive. I do too. Really?
Yeah.
Let's see who can name more Randy Travis songs. I'm just kidding.
Go.
Oh, I was like,
I'm
shoot.
just kidding.
I mean,
Off the
I don't
top
know.
of your head.
He has a really good rendition of King of the Road that I love. I'll
Mom
play
and
it. I'll
Dad's-
play it during
That's
the break.
there's another rendition.
Of King of the Road?
I thought that was the main one.
King of the Road.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
Randy Travis's was the
Oh,
one.
Stogie
My Mom and
is
Dad's
I
song
have that's
is
a cover.
Love You Forever.
It's a cover.
by
I did
him.
not know that actually.
What's their song?
Is that? That's Forever and Ever. Amen.
Forever and ever,
Forever,
amen.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
That's a very
It's
good
their
song. Tangent.
is a
I'm
good
Drake
song.
Toll. That's JD PicKell. Marquise Cooley. We got Hayden Bumpus, otherwise known as Big Bump. Armstrong Sims and Jack McKenzie. The biggest bump is in the house, folks.
Bump.
In the hizzy. When we come back, Morgan Uber joins the show because it's Tuesday. I know what you're thinking. I'm going to go somewhere. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
It's Tuesday, and well, the calm before the storm of a big weekend in Baylor sports has set in. Surrounding the university, though, Andy Thomas has been named a collegiate baseball newspaper National Player of the Week. The fifth-year senior hit 8 for 11 with 3 home runs and 9 RBI in the 3-game series against Kansas State. Thomas was also honored with a nomination for the Senior Class Award. Only 10 seniors across the country are currently still in the running to receive the honor, as Thomas has made it to one of the final rounds. can cast a fan vote for the Bear to win by going to seniorclassaward.com and voting Andy Thomas. Elsewhere in baseball, the threat of inclement weather has canceled tonight's game against Incarnate Word in Waco. The Bears' next competition will come this weekend for the series against number 21 Oklahoma State in Stillwater. And junior All-American women's golfer Gurleen Kaur will get a shot at the 76th U.S. Women's Open, set to take place June 3rd to 6th at storied Olympic Club in San Francisco. Kaur is just one of a handful of amateurs that qualified for the major. Around the nation, Oral Roberts basketball star Max Asmus has declared for the NBA draft, but will retain his eligibility. Emmanuel Miller, Texas A&M's leading scorer, is transferring to TCU to play basketball next season. The NCAA has proposed issuing technical fouls for players who flop. And Central Connecticut has hired Fairfield assistant Patrick Sellers as its new basketball coach. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. In Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up-Tempo.
1, 2. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way. I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll and J.D. PicKell for the Blonde Boys Power Hour.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Tuesday, everybody. May 11th today, breaking things down across Baylor athletics. And joining the show today to help us break it down across the Big 12 is the Big 12 digital correspondent, Morgan Uber. Morgan, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on again today.
Drake, as always, great to be here. Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. Morgan, I would be remiss if I didn't start in what was maybe some of the biggest news in baseball across the Big 12 over the course of the weekend. Baylor, in a conference series, putting up 17 runs in one inning, in the fifth inning alone, knocking off Kansas State 23-3 on Sunday. Just absolutely bonkers.
It was ridiculous. You and I, had talked the past couple weeks, how is this team going to come out after being off 9-10 days, due to finals? And it was clear that the rest did them some good. I mean, Friday, they come out in 17-2. And then, after the loss Sunday, to bounce back like they did, win 23-3, the longest fifth inning in program history, the most runs. I mean, we've seen this Baylor baseball team as this year has gone along, the hitting has just gotten better and better, and of course put together their best performance of the entire season. And it's good to be playing their best baseball late. Certainly gives them some staying power for where they'll be ranked heading into the College World Series.
Morgan, when it comes to this Baylor baseball team, they were projected preseason in the conference 8th in the Big 12, and they now have a shot pretty quickly to move up into third now that they have the series edge over Texas Tech. I mean, is this one of the crazier season turnarounds from a preseason to I don't want to say postseason yet, but to the point where we are?
Definitely. I mean, you look at where this team started, and then now, like you mentioned, they're just one game behind Texas Tech in the standings. They do hold the series advantage. And then when you look at who they have left on their schedule as far as conference play goes, they got the two Oklahoma schools, Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, who are both, right on their tail for at 5th and 6th right now in the Big 12 conference standings. So those two series are obviously going to be huge in order to, see where they end up getting seated heading into the Big 12 championship here in just a couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, I think this team, has just to put together 43 runs in 3 games in one weekend is just absolutely outrageous. And we talked about, the momentum that they gained after that Texas Tech series. Well, think about, what this kind of momentum is going to do for this team after they put together an offensive performance like they did. I mean, really on Saturday in the one game that they lost, going up against Jordan Wicks, a pitcher who's likely going to be a first rounder, definitely nothing to hang their hat on, losing 10-3, but to see how they bounced back on Sunday, that was what was really most impressive to me. And I think speaks volumes of what this team is capable of down the stretch and the rest of the way.
Morgan, one of the things that some Baylor fans still have reservations for when it comes to this season and the team, and it's being able to finish complete series. I mean, you're going to have to win in a regional to go to a super regional, or in a super regional to go to the College World Series. I mean, you're going to have to win in most cases, 3 games. So with this team, one thing we haven't been able to see is that sweep. They keep winning 2, taking 2 out of 3 from conference opponents. How tough is it to sweep in Big 12 play?
Yeah, I really do think, these top 6-7 teams have really, it is. I mean, it's like a grind. It's like anything, like our men's basketball, what we saw every night, every single series for these baseball teams, going on the road has especially been tough for Baylor this season. I know they've been tremendous at home, but yeah, the series sweeps, I do think you can't look at it and say, at least they're winning the series overall, especially here late. Definitely, I do think it's a tough conference, and it shows the strength of this conference. And, with the way things started early on in the season, the SEC kind of had our numbers. It was, a little bit degrading there. But I think the way that the whole conference, has really bounced back and played, throughout the middle of the season and late has just been really impressive. So I think, the sky's really the limit for this Baylor baseball program right now, and they've been a whole lot of fun to watch down the stretch.
Morgan, what is it that makes this Baylor baseball team so much better now than they were projected to be earlier on in the season? Because like we said, 8th in the Big 12 preseason poll. They lost to UTRGV earlier in the year, started 2-5, and here they are knocking on the door of being in the top third of the Big 12.
Yeah, that is a great question, Drake. And I think it's just a matter of this team is putting together the right pieces and getting hot at the right time. It's a team that has really just, come together and found their confidence and found their rhythm as the season has gone along. You think about how all of these teams, drastically just had to stop and end their seasons last year due to COVID, but then be able to come out of that and come back from that with all the experience that they gained. And think about, these rosters, not just, Baylor, but across the country, definitely the biggest rosters that coaches have ever had to manage. So being able to bring in all these pieces and those freshmen, just really, learning from some of these veteran seniors, I think it just took them a little bit to get going. But, with the way that they've been able to string together some wins, I do think it's a confidence thing for this team. And, baseball, as we know, is such a mental game. So, when you do get hot and you can stay there, that definitely helps the mindset. So that's, I think, been just the biggest key for this Baylor team and, what they've talked about as the season has gone along.
Morgan, when you look at a turnaround season like what Baylor baseball has put together, where, like we talked about, you had the first early season series loss to UTRGV, struggles were there and you weren't sure. I mean, Baylor wasn't supposed to be good at baseball. That was expected out of this team. The way they've turned it around, how much credit do you give to Steve Rodriguez and what he and his staff have done to help with this turnaround?
It's been tremendous. And I think one of the things that his staff and, Coach Rodriguez did in the middle of the season, they end up switching up the lineup, moving, Pineda and McKenzie. McKenzie had been the leadoff hitter, and to, move him down to number 2, that's really been working. And I guess, I don't know the exact record off the top of my head, but it would be interesting to see, when they made that switch, the Baylor's definitely been significantly better. Again, don't know the exact record, but significantly better since that point in the middle of the season. So, I know his staff has come in and really, I listened to an interview that he did with one of your staff members actually just yesterday, and the hitting aspect of just being able to, break down the players hitting with the technology that they have there at Baylor, but making it simple enough for them to, not have to overthink it, just tweaking a couple mechanical things and then going up to the plate and just, seeing good pitches. And I think, that's been one thing since he's gotten there, that this hitting, has just been tremendous. And this season has really just, culminated all of that work that they've done.
Morgan, along with that, you got other teams in the Big 12 that are seeing a lot of, it's Texas, TCU, the race to the top. And now Texas taking that series in Fort Worth. How big was that? And those two teams obviously being on the national scale, their World Series hopes are alive and well.
These are two teams that likely are going to be hosting here, and we'll be finding out this week exactly those predetermined sites. But yeah, I'll be honest, I was a little bit shocked with Texas and the way that they were able to come into Fort Worth and take 2 out of 3 from TCU, especially the game on Sunday in shutout fashion. This was a series that I had been really looking forward to, and was really TCU at that point, number 3 in the country, Texas 6th, I guess, depending on the polls that you were looking at. So, two teams that definitely have a chance to make a run all the way and potentially be national champions. So you think about that, 2 teams in the top, 5, 6 vying for a national championship, definitely contenders. They have the talent, both the pitching and the hitting, just 2 very well-rounded programs. But yeah, Texas definitely looked pretty dominant in that series, if you're just thinking to what they were able to do on Sunday against the Horned Frogs. So I'm really looking forward to here in just a couple weeks to see, what happens, who's going to be ranked number 1 heading into our Big 12 championship. It's definitely, those 2 teams have separated themselves if you look at the standings. So it's either going to be the Horned Frogs or the Longhorns there. And, I do think Baylor at this point could make a case and could make a run to be sitting there right at number 3. So, definitely great for the strength of the conference and these programs just continuing to get better as the season has gone on.
Morgan, card before the horse, but it's coming. We're on the cusp of the Big 12 championship tournament in Oklahoma City. I mean, that thing's just going to be crazy.
It is, and I'm so looking forward to it. This will be my very first Big 12 championship to go to in baseball, and it's, we get a whole nother day of it with that play-in game that was added on Tuesday. So basically 6 whole days in Oklahoma City. I've heard outstanding things. This is the last year that it'll be there, with the championship moving to Arlington next year, a little bit closer to home for us here at the Big 12 Conference, but Oklahoma City, an incredible host. I've only heard outstanding things, and I think we're going to see a whole lot of great baseball, so I cannot wait.
Wow. Morgan, last thing really touching on Baylor baseball, Andy Thomas this past week just went on an absolute tear. I mean, really ended up being a National Player of the Week in, I think it was collegiate baseball newspaper, named him their National Player of the Week, Senior Class Award finalist. He went 8 for 11, 6 runs, 3 home runs, 9 RBI. I mean, Andy Thomas is about as hot as they come in this conference right now.
Yeah, and I know a lot of Baylor fans were probably disappointed he wasn't named the Player of the Week, and I did see a lot of negative reactions and comments on social media. But he what an incredible week what he was able to string together, and for a player, a leader of this team. From what Coach Rodriguez says, he's the heart and soul, and came back for his last season because he just wanted to leave everything out there. And boy, I mean, did he do it? Especially this past weekend, going 8 for 11. 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, just absolutely incredible. And being named a Senior Class Award finalist, what a tremendous honor for him. And I know fans have the opportunity to vote to, help him, be able to attain that award. So I know Baylor baseball is pushing that on social media. So for fans, here's your chance. And, definitely he's been just tremendous to watch this season.
Morgan, moving over to the softball side, Baylor softball swept by Texas this weekend. A dominant performance by Coach White's team. I mean, UT just looked good, really, really good, especially coming off of the series where they were swept by Oklahoma State. And on the other side, you had Oklahoma State and Oklahoma squaring off, and showed that the big dogs, that OU, they're not entirely indestructible. It'll be a big weekend this weekend for the softball championship.
What I learned last weekend was, Bedlam is Bedlam. There's no doubt about that. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, I do really believe, Drake, that those two teams have separated themselves. And if you look at, the results of Big 12 conference play in softball this year, it showed that both of these teams swept Texas during the regular season, which, that's a little bit of a surprise for me, based on what Texas was ranked coming in and what they're still ranked. But the Sunday rubber match of Bedlam, I think, like you mentioned, that they're not Oklahoma, while they win their 9th straight regular season title in the Big 12. I do think the Cowgirls, they're right there with them this season. You look at what they did on Sunday, Cowgirls down 9-1. They have a huge inning, and Oklahoma has to make a pitching change. But, pitcher Nicole May for the Sooners, a freshman, has been outstanding. She showed that on Sunday, bases loaded. Sooners only up by 2 runs at that point, and she gets out of the jam and strikes out the second batter there for Oklahoma State in the lineup. So, I do think it's probably going to come down to those two teams. Baylor sitting at number 4, they have the 4th seed, and unfortunately they're in Oklahoma's group for the softball championship. So they have Texas Tech. The Bears have Texas Tech first, which is a team that they were able to sweep during the regular season, but then unfortunately they have to go up and face the Sooners. So maybe they were able to learn some things. Hopefully, I'm sure that they'll be able to take into that game after they were swept by the Sooners earlier. But, I do think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the two teams that reside in Oklahoma. And I think we're going to, be seeing a lot of great softball this weekend.
Moving into the postseason, Morgan, if things align for Baylor softball, wherever they're placed in a region, it looks like they'll be either a 2 or 3 seed, which there's not much difference in either, aside from being the home team in round 1. Is there a chance this softball team with senior-laden pitching and some solid bats is able to make a run?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything's out of the question at this point. And I think, you mentioned the senior-laden team, and that's one thing that we've seen in every sport this season or this entire year with the difficulties with COVID, particularly, in basketball, baseball, and softball. Just having that veteran presence there, and similar to, what I mentioned in baseball, you have a whole lot of players that were able to come back after a COVID season that was cut short. A lot of players that want to leave it all on the field after realizing, what was taken from you in an instant, realizing that, at the end of the day, we can't take anything for granted. So I do think nothing's off the table. It'll be really interesting to see, where they end up landing, who they face. I think at that point, then I'll be able to, give you a better idea of just how far they'll be able to go in this thing. But I definitely think, they've proven that they're a talented team, and they play in a really tough conference here in the Big 12 and face great competition. So that's only going to really help them in the postseason.
Morgan, on top of that, I know I'm going to kind of throw you a bit of a curveball here, but Baylor men's tennis headed to Orlando as one of the final 16 teams left in postseason play after 2 wins over the weekend in Waco to open up the first and second round of the NCAA tournament. How big is it to have Big 12 teams representing the conference on that stage in the men's tennis game?
It's great. And on the men's side, we have 3 teams. So definitely really exciting there. Those 3 teams that, all tied number 1 in the regular season for that regular season championship, TCU, Texas, and Baylor. But yeah, Baylor came out absolute dominant performance, defeating Oregon, 4-0 after, a huge long hour delay. Plus, I guess due to rain, had to, move inside there and end up just putting on a dominant performance. So, Michael Woodson, really happy, for him getting that promotion, officially named head coach of that program. And I think, they've just been outstanding and been able to really defend that home court. So looking forward to seeing, what they can do there in Orlando. They'll face number 15 Ole Miss, and, wishing for the best and wishing that our Big 12 teams, represent this conference really strong.
Morgan, on top of that, Baylor men's basketball making a couple splashes within the last week. You've got not only James Akinjo joining from Arizona, but now also bringing in Fairmont State guard and a guy that a lot of folks here are excited about, Dale Bonner, a really good shooter. I mean, Scott Drew said, yeah, we won a national championship, but why stop there?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely just love this pickup. And I think, based on what we saw, last year, having the best backcourt in college basketball, you kind of think, okay, with, the expectation that Jared Butler, is going to leave. I guess it's not completely off the table, but we know, Teague and Mitchell are both gone. What are you going to do? And I really like these offseason pickups that he's got. And of course, it's no surprise, though, that he was able to, bring in 2 very talented guards, one of them being a Division II level. You mentioned Bonner. And so it's going to be interesting to see, it is going to be a big change and big adjustment, of course, for him to come in, at the Division I, but he's a hot 3-point shooter, which of course is one of Baylor's greatest strengths that we saw last year. And I have all the confidence in the world in Scott Drew and what he's done in the transfer market. I mean, you think about Teague and Mitchell, 2 guys that, I would say Mitchell wasn't all that, highly touted at the time, but I think player development is what Scott Drew does. And I mean, the Freddie Gillespie story is the perfect example of, you get a Division III player that comes in and you make him a big household name as a D1 player. So I have no doubts that at Division II level, Bonner is going to be able to come in and find his stride there. And, I think the biggest thing with both of these guys, and you hear Coach Drew mention it all the time, is that they're both culture fits. And not every player, not every guy is going to fit, the Baylor culture. And for these 2 to do that and also be extremely talented and come on to a national championship, reigning team is exciting, and definitely like these 2 pickups from everything that I've heard and read.
Well, Morgan, last question for you here. I know there's a lot. As much as things seem like they're settling down, there's still so much going on between men's tennis, women's tennis. You've got softball, baseball, obviously, and then football recruiting, men's and women's basketball recruiting. I mean, it's still all happening right now. But with the Baylor Lady Bears hiring Nikki Collin, now a week removed, we talked to you a week ago today, is when really that went official, and today it went official that she's hired her first staff member, retaining Jeremy Hefner, who is the strength and conditioning coordinator for the team, and a huge recruiting, her first big recruiting get is one of the coaches that's already in Waco. A week removed from the Nikki Collin hire, are you still do you still have as much optimism as you did a week ago with what Baylor has done in bringing her to Waco?
I have more optimism than I did, especially after hearing her press conference. I had just, read and heard, similar to you, listening into what people had to say. Really hadn't heard a lot from her personally, but after the way that she took the stage, I mean, she's humorous, she's confident, she's honest. And everyone, that talked about her said that she is a people person first. And I think that was so apparent in what she showed in that press conference. She talked about her primary job being to re-recruit this team. And, just before we came on here, I did see the report that Moon Urson had entered the transfer portal. So, that made things a little bit uneasy. But, I also have heard, in interviews, she did a great one with Holly Rowe, right after she accepted the job. And, I love the question that Holly asked her. What is your conversation right now with Melissa Smith? And she said, okay, here's how we're going to make you the number 1 pick next year. I mean, that's something as a player, that's what you want to hear. And I think, she displays that same confidence that we saw on the stage, amongst her team. There's no doubt that she's going to be a coach that people want to play for. So I do think, and she mentioned, filling in and coming behind a legend in Kim Mulkey. She's not trying to be Kim Mulkey. And I think that's, for her to acknowledge that, she still has the same expectations, of course, winning national championships, but she's going to do it in her own way, in her own style, and bring some of that pro style approach to her coaching and to the team. So I was, absolutely loved her press conference. It was one of the best that I've truly ever seen. And so really just very optimistic about the future of Baylor women's basketball.
I love it. Morgan, last question for you. Our Bear Games question of the day, whether it be as a player or as a fan of your team. What is the biggest victory? I mean, just largest margin of victory that you ever been a part of? I know we talked yesterday about your worst defeat, and this is all in with Baylor baseball putting up a 17 spot in the 5th inning on Sunday, and it just being it goes from, oh, this is bad to this is sad. Where in your life in sports have you been on the winning end of one of those?
Well, I was an athlete, but I wouldn't say, I can't think of a huge win that I really had playing lacrosse. But, as a reporter, I'll tell you, I was a part of the 2015 World Series. I worked for Fox Sports Midwest covering the Kansas City Royals, and I had covered them also in 2014 for a local affiliate, an NBC affiliate, in Columbia, Missouri. So, experiencing the defeat of the Royals there, they lost to the Giants in 2014. But then in 2015, to be with that regional sports network and be a part of the Royals run was, outstanding. And of course, they had to win the ALDS against Houston. And I don't know if people really remember what happened there, but they were down 6-2 and end up, that was after 7 innings, and then put up 5 runs in the 8th inning. So to do what they did in the ALDS and then win the World Series that year, definitely, I guess that's my most exciting, victory. Although I wasn't an athlete on the team, but covering it was something special.
I love it. Morgan, thanks for joining the show as always today. Pleasure to hear from you and get perspective across the Big 12 in all athletics and a little bit of lacrosse and baseball, MLB baseball thrown in there too.
Drake, thanks for having me. As always, appreciate it.
Absolutely. That was Morgan Huber, Big 12 digital correspondent. When we come back from this break, been talking about a lot of Big 12 sports. Let's talk about Baylor football. We're going to center in Baylor football with the big board coming up with Grayson Grunte for what he has seen so far in Baylor practices and what you can expect when it comes to recruiting and building the 2022 class even further the next few weeks. I'm Drake Toll, joined in studio by Marquise Cooley, joined by Bump. We got Armstrong, Sims, and Jack McKenzie. When we come back, Grayson Grunte joins us for the big board. After that, we break down some more things across college athletics before being joined by Sue Favor, who covers women's college basketball, to talk Nikki Collin. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
It's Tuesday, and the calm before the storm of a big weekend in Baylor sports has set in. Surrounding the university, though, Andy Thomas has been named a collegiate baseball newspaper National Player of the Week. The fifth-year senior hit 8 for 11 with 3 home runs and 9 RBI in the 3-game series against Kansas State. Thomas was also honored with a nomination for the Senior Class Award. Only 10 seniors across the country are currently still in the running to receive the honor, as Thomas has made it to one of the final rounds. You can cast a fan vote for the Bear to win by going to seniorclassaward.com and voting Andy Thomas. Elsewhere in baseball, the threat of inclement weather has canceled tonight's game against Incarnate Word in Waco. The Bears' next competition will come this weekend with a series against number 21 Oklahoma State in Stillwater. And junior All-American women's golfer Gurleen Kaur will get a shot at the 76th U.S. Women's Open, set to take place June 3rd to 6th at storied Olympic Club in San Francisco. Kaur is just one of a handful of amateurs that qualified for the major. Around the nation, Oral Roberts basketball star Max Asmus has declared for the NBA draft, but will retain his eligibility. Emmanuel Miller, Texas A&M's leading scorer, is transferring to TCU to play basketball next season. The NCAA has proposed issuing technical fouls for players who flop. And Central Connecticut has hired Fairfield assistant Patrick Sellers as its new basketball coach. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. In Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up-Tempo.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Listen, in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of people moving in from out of state to Waco thanks to Chipper and JoJo. And while we welcome these new citizens, they unfortunately brought some of their bad habits with them. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and you know what I'm talking about. Naked trucks. You'd think everyone moved here from McNewtville, but we shouldn't judge them, we should help them. For example, when you see a recent transplant truck from a less civilized state like California, instead of saying, "Your truck is disgusting, your bed is exposed, get a bed cover on that truck, buddy," that's a bit harsh. Instead, try something like, "You know, in Texas, it's not polite to drive around with your bed exposed. Maybe you should check out the excellent selection of bed covers at Pickup Outfitters." And then if they refuse, you can say, "Well, I hear New Mexico's a nice state." Let's help our new neighbors and let them know that truck nudity is not okay. Let them know about Pickup Outfitters of Waco and send them to our website, createacommotion.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Cynthia, Jesus died for our Cynthias.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Julia Roberts, Julia Robb.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. I am Drake Toll, now alongside Grayson Grundaver for the big board today, talking all things college football, Baylor football. We'll talk a little bit of women's and men's basketball, though, too. You know, we like to dip our toes in the realms of the water. Got Marquise Cooley also in here, Bump. So I don't know if you met Hayden Bumpus, who is now helping us as an intern.
I haven't yet.
But we found out earlier in a commercial break that he very commonly goes by the nickname Bump.
Bump.
So he is now the Big Bump.
Okay. Why do you go by that?
Armstrong, you're going to have to.
Last name.
Yeah,
Okay,
last
okay.
name Bumpus.
Last name is Bumpus. Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
so that,
cool.
yeah. Armstrong
We're not calling him the Big Bump.
The Big I think I like the Big Bump.
I'm putting my foot down on that.
Big old nasty bump.
How is that better?
Says
Jack. Yeah, that's a great point.
How is that better?
Grayson, let's start with what is the biggest news in my opinion, from the weekend. That being Baylor baseball's gajillion run fifth inning that lasted almost an hour and was insanely insane. That was insane.
Yeah, that definitely was. And Coach Rodriguez mentioned how he's never seen anything like that. So it was one of those things where the inning just kept going.
Yeah.
And it just seemed, I mean, if you're a Kansas State player, I mean, how helpless is that? You're just sitting there watching the
no
runs
outs.
go. Oh,
17 runs across.
yeah. And if you've played baseball, anyone that's played baseball, if you're just sitting in the field for that amount of time, I mean, we're talking guys had 3 at-bats in that inning.
Yeah, and it's
just
hot.
crazy.
It is Texas heat. Not as bad as it could be, but enough.
Right. And I mean, that's just a helpless feeling. So good for Baylor baseball. I wish they would have gotten the sweep. I mean, you know, the second game didn't quite go as they wanted, but they're in great position, 33 in the RPI now. I think they have, they're pretty much a lock to be in the tournament at this point since they've gotten hot down the stretch. But now you're trying to up your seed. You're also trying to up what region you're going to be in. You don't want to be stuck with
Fayetteville.
God,
no, please.
That's what people posted that, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, you know, you want that 2011, redeem it. I'm just thinking, no. You want to be in Eastern Carolina's region. That's where you want to be.
Yep. Or Louisiana Tech. You want to go to Louisiana Tech. You want to be in Ruston, which Ruston's not an easy place to play. You're not going to be able to sweep it in Ruston, but I mean, come on. You don't want to go to Fayetteville in comparison to going to Ruston. Along with that, though, you've got what I love. You said that Steve Rodriguez mentioned he'd never seen anything like it. Yeah. Well, yeah, he was at Pepperdine playing California West Coast small ball. Anytime, typically, if Steve Rodriguez coached teams, you're scoring 4 or 5 runs, and you're feeling pretty good. You're feeling all right.
Yeah, definitely. And what he did say, though, is something that was comparable to it was last year in an inning, they gave up 11 runs. So he was on the other end of it once. But, yeah, I mean, definitely a different feeling. But this team is very different from the teams he's coached in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, usually they're a good pitching team, but usually they're even a little bit better when you have a guy like Cody Bradford as your ace. It's a little bit different, even though Tyler Thomas has been fantastic this year. But I would say this year's team can really hit the ball, and their approach at the plate is terrific. So it's going to give them a chance in pretty much any region they're in, and the pitching has been solid enough. So, it's a different team, though, I would say.
Yeah, the fact that Rod's been able to adjust that too, because like we said, he's got that California style of playing baseball, much different than what you get in the South. Big bats in the South. You got guys that are swinging for the fences, home run driven teams. Go to California, we're bunting, we're doing squeezes, we're trying to get them on the corners. If we can score 3 runs, pitching shuts it down. You're looking at starters that go 5-6 innings, relievers that go 1. You know, it's conventional old school baseball. Whereas Now this season they've adjusted to, hey, we'll give you 7 runs. We're just going to put up 12.
Yeah, and with young guys. I mean, these are young bats too. We're not talking about a veteran team. I know Andy Thomas is, and he's been terrific, but a lot of these guys are young, and they're hitting it really, really well.
On top of that, softball moving up to the Big 12 championships this weekend. Yeah. Men's tennis to Orlando. Isaac van der Merwe joined the show yesterday. That was awesome. I loved Isaac van der Merwe. Tennis, man, Matt and DC mentioned it earlier on the show today that Baylor in general, they're just good. Obviously, we've talked about it, they're good at every sport. They hold their own in every sport. On top of that, they care about every sport. Like the Baylor fan base, most radio shows, I was having this conversation with Max Cal. Let's soapbox for a second. Okay. Having this conversation with the tennis SID, it was like, look, you go to most schools in America, the tennis team can be national championship caliber, and no one cares. The second you turn on the radio and someone says the word tennis, they turn it off, just because that's how a lot of fan bases in the Power 5 are. But at Baylor, if it's good and it's men's tennis, people care about it. They want to hear about it because they want to know, hey, how are those guys doing?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing with women's basketball. I mean, frankly, at a lot of schools, when they hear women's basketball, they're turning off the TV.
They don't give a rip.
Whereas what we just saw over the last month for Baylor women's basketball during the coaching search, I mean, it was one of the most interesting times I've seen in a while. I mean, Baylor fans were so invested in it. And it's the same thing with men's tennis. And I'm so happy for Michael Woodson, for him to get the job. That's just terrific. They've been great this season, and I know there's a lot left to do. They want to win a national championship, no doubt about it, but it's already been a great season, and I'm curious how they do going forward. I know they have Ole Miss in their first match. Yeah. I think they're going to win that one.
Yeah.
But then the next matchup, I mean, you might be playing TCU for what, the third or fourth time?
Oh, man, no. It would be the 5th time.
5th time. I mean, they know each other so well, which makes that matchup extremely tricky in the Elite Eight.
Yeah. Is Baylor a basketball school? I want to get your 2 thoughts. I love the fact that the big board always, I like taking the first 10 minutes of the big board just to quiz you on what the rest of the show has been about today.
Yeah.
And we're doing the same thing right now. Is Baylor a basketball school? Yes or no? I'm not going to argue with you. I just want to know.
No, Baylor's a football school.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How many football wins did Baylor have last season?
2.
Yep.
Yeah.
They had 1 more football win than they had men's basketball national championships.
Well, I mean, another good question would be how many Big 12 championships does Baylor basketball have in the last 10 years?
Yeah, but I would trade.
I mean, I know they won the national championship, but
they did do that.
It was just this year, which is a huge deal. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, it's a football school. It's in the middle of Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like winning it, for as much as everyone loved winning a basketball championship, and I'm sure some people would say winning a basketball championship is bigger than anything else, but I think most people would say Baylor winning a national championship in football would be the biggest accomplishment.
That's the end game. Yeah,
that's end game.
Do you think, here, I'm going to really put you on the spot here. Cool. This is terrible. You don't have to answer this. I'll answer this. I'll be completely candid and honest.
I'll try to answer it.
Let me give you this. First, this one. How many football conference championships would you trade for a national championship in basketball? In a 10-year span.
I'd trade 2.
2 football. So you would rather win 3 conference football championships than 1 national championship in
especially when
basketball.
Oklahoma's won
7
in a row, 8 in a row. Yeah, because it doesn't happen very often. So if you win 3 in a
and you're going to the you're probably going to the playoffs.
You're going to
one of those 3.
Playoff. Yeah, and you might win a game in the college football playoff. Yeah,
and then if you do that, you go to the championship, and then
if you win that,
and then you might win the championship.
And I'll trade 15 Big 12 championships in basketball for a national championship in football. So
I would, I 1,000,000%. Kansas can just keep winning them. That's
fine.
Winning. That's fine. Along with that, in our lifetime, will Baylor football ever win a national championship? That's the one, and I already said no.
Yes.
I said on the top of the show, I said that in our lifetime, now until the day we die, give it say 60 years is fair. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's happening. It's happening.
Really?
It's going to be one of the most amazing days in sports history.
I got chills thinking about it.
I mean, there's going to be a 30 for 30 on it. Just like every national championship, there's going to be a 30 for 30 on it,
like
right?
Clemson. That's people said the same thing about Clemson. Although they had one with, I think it was Ken Hatfield, won one at Clemson, or Danny Ford, somebody like that, won one at Clemson. So it makes me think, like, yeah, they kind of have the national championship history is there at least.
Sort of, yeah.
But I'm trying to think of another college that's relevant now that just has none. Has Oregon won one?
No, because they lost. They lost to. They might have an old one.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Do they have an old one? Because I didn't even know if they were very good until recently.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. I mean, Clemson has a little bit of history, but Clemson is the closest comparison that everyone wants to make, even though their history is definitely in football is better.
Much better than Baylor. Yeah, when I think of Miami, there were folks that never thought Miami would do it, and Schnellenberger did it within the first 5 seasons of being in Miami.
Then they rolled for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they did. They rode that momentum for 25 years.
They cheated, but yeah,
they did do it unfairly. SMU. It makes me think of Baylor's still a Power 5 school. If you were like a Houston and you had to drop the AAC, you're probably saying no.
Well, then you're in trouble. Like if realignment happened and Baylor's not in a Power 5, now that would be then we'd be having a different conversation.
Right.
Sure.
And basketball doesn't help you with that because
it doesn't.
In realignment, Villanova wouldn't move into the FBS,
True.
just because they were good at basketball. So it's not like Baylor would stay a Power 5 school just because they won a national championship in basketball.
Maybe. They've been in the Power 5 longer. Like Nova's has never been in the Power 5, even though they were in the Big East, which had a conference with football. They still didn't play. I mean, they still didn't compete on the FBS level.
And I guess basketball could probably keep you, like Kansas basketball would be literally the only thing. Like I look up and down Kansas athletics, and they are so bad.
Why would you keep them? Yeah, I mean, as far as you got
to keep them for basketball.
Yeah,
in Power 5. But then you look at Washington State. Give me like one reason to keep Washington State Power 5 in realignment.
Yeah, they're tied to Washington. That's literally the only reason.
Rice and SMU and Houston are tied to Baylor.
I know, but it's also location. I mean, you got to think about that. If you're going to keep the Pac-12, I mean, Baylor's going to travel all the way to California or Oregon or Washington for every road game. I mean, I don't know if that's realistic.
Even then, though, I'm not saying like we have to switch with Washington State. I'm just saying like Power 5 wise. I think Baylor has Baylor's still in the bubble. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
If there's realignment, I don't think Baylor's comfortably
TCU's on the bubble. I would say everyone except for Texas, Oklahoma, and maybe Oklahoma State, because I actually think Oklahoma would try to keep them with them, whereas Texas, I don't think Texas would care if any school went with them.
I don't know, man. I think TCU and Baylor athletics are so comparable when you look down the line. I think they're both probably on the bubble, but man, TCU baseball is dominant. No revenue out of that. Like what is that going to give you in the Power 5 realignment?
They've been really good at football for some time. They've
Trevon
been consistent.
Boykin, Andy Dalton, all the way back to Andy Dalton.
Consistent. Gary Patterson's still there.
Men's basketball, Jamie Dixon had them. They were really good his first couple of seasons.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Women's basketball Jamie Dixon's done.
Ever since UCLA rumors, it's been over.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had a dream last night that Jamie Dixon got fired from TCU, which is going to like so be a reality. This is his last season in Fort Worth.
It probably is.
It's the inevitable. It's
Actually, they won't get rid of him because he's the best coach they've ever had, and he hasn't won.
Literally. I mean, he went to I think the Sweet 16 in his first or second year, and that was just like, okay, thank you, lifetime contract. Which thinking about if Scott Drew would have done it his first 2 or 3 years, it'd be the same thing. You'd give the guy 5 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, he already got 5 seasons and he didn't win anything, but different.
That's situation.
Yeah. Very different situation.
Guy died. There was a lot going on there. There's a lot going on there. Let's talk about football.
Okay,
if you want to do that,
let's do it. Yeah, a little recruiting.
So I love the riff though. That's the dialogue to start. Baylor football got a new commitment yesterday. I shot you a text because we have talked about him. I think it was after the Under Armour camp? Was he at the Under Armour camp?
Yes, he was, and he had also visited one of the weeks before. So yes, we've talked a lot.
We discussed him, and so he was familiar to me, but it was also like but is this a big pickup? And you sounded really high on it.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's Bryce Simpson, Cy Ranch, offensive lineman, 2022 class. So he gives Baylor the third offensive line commit in the class, and I mean, 6'6", 315. You just simply are not going to find guys like that who can move the way that he can in the state of Texas. You just rarely do. You usually find guys who are 6'6", 280, guys you really have to mold. For him, he's going to have to be molded to kind of like lose weight and become even more athletic. So he's got some work to do there, but I love the frame that he comes in with. I think he's going to be a very good player, and he's more on par with, the Connor Heffernans and Tate Williams from the last class. He's closer to them. I still think Tate is the best they've landed between the two classes so far. But there's a lot of guys out there that will also potentially be added to this Baylor class. But really like Simpson. Ole Miss, Utah, Colorado, SMU were his other big offers. Also had some other group of 5 offers. But perfect fit, I think, with the wide zone scheme. You'll see him probably start off at right tackle. I think that's what Eric Mateos would like him to play. But I also think he could be a very good guard as well. And with the weight he already has, I mean, he could be a 6'6", 325-pound guard, or he could be a 6'6", 315-pound tackle. But a very nice pickup at a position need for the Bears.
With that, you've got Baylor trying to build that offensive line going into next season, not just into 2022, but now, because they need it. Any updates on where they may be targeting guys or guys that are really biting the hook to come to Baylor and play next season on the O-line?
Yeah, so there's actually a really big one that we definitely need to talk about. Isaiah Helms, he's a Western Carolina grad transfer target. He played center at Western Carolina for 21 starts. So the past 2 seasons, 2019 and the shortened 2020
Is that
season.
more than all of the Baylor current offensive linemen combined?
I mean, Connor Galvin's the only issue with that because he started 3 seasons basically. But yeah, on the interior, absolutely. I mean, Xavier Newman started a lot, but just frankly has not taken the steps that I think everyone expected. So Helms, a center prospect. He was all SoCon first team last year. So a very big time target, a guy who has 20 offers since entering the portal just 10 days ago, I believe. Baylor, of course, offered. They became his first Power 5 offer. He'll have 3 years of eligibility and be immediately eligible. So he actually has some time to grow under this staff if he chooses. I do believe he would probably compete to be the starter at center. He could also play guard if they felt like Grant Miller was the guy they wanted to play at center. He could do either. So, I mean, Baylor's in a good spot there. I know he's got a bunch of offers, but with Baylor being the first Power 5, you would think that they would be able to seal the deal and potentially land a high-impact transfer.
Wow. So he's the big name right now, a big name that's out there.
Yeah.
They missed on the Norfolk State offensive lineman, right? And
that was a while ago.
I think we talked about that last week. There's the guy from,
Buffalo?
No. Yes, the Buffalo
Mike
guy.
Nowitzki?
Yeah.
So I'm not getting great vibes that Baylor's going to land him. I think the competition for him is very intense as far as Power 5 goes.
You said it's like Texas is in there.
Yeah, I mean, the moment he entered the portal, it was Texas, UCLA, Cal, Purdue, UCLA, I think I mentioned, USC. There were a lot of schools that followed him, Ole Miss. And so I think he has a lot of attention. So I think it's going to be very tough for Baylor to end up landing him, even though he would be my top ad. He's a very, very good prospect. And he played in Group of 5 at Buffalo, a little bit higher level of competition than Helms played at. But he doesn't have 3 years of eligibility, which could also be seen as a very big benefit with Helms. So I'm feeling better about Helms than I am Nowitzki. So I think that's kind of where things lie right now. Both are interior offensive linemen, though. So Baylor's still trying to find a right tackle out of the transfer portal. They just haven't had any luck, and tackles are a little bit hard to come by because everyone wants them, and they don't enter the portal as frequently.
There's a guy out west that we've talked about like every single week, the offensive lineman target, transfer target. He's got an interesting name.
Oh, JUCO. Kingsley
Ugwu.
Yeah, Ugwu. He's a JUCO prospect out of Hutchinson Community College. So, we've talked about him a lot. Honestly, he was supposed to make his decision, I believe, a week and a half ago, and he did not.
Nothing.
He decided not to. I know he'd been going through a lot as far as schoolwork and football.
Okay.
And I know he decided he wanted to take a little bit longer with his decision. Arizona, Boise State have kind of come into the picture a little bit. But I still feel pretty good about Baylor's chances there. I mean, I know Colorado's built a good relationship, Houston as well, but I think Coach Mateos has done a great job recruiting him, making him a priority. So yeah, Kingsley Ugu, I do think Baylor's in a great spot. I don't think he is the short-term solution for the right tackle position as far as next season is concerned. So I do think even if they land him, even if they land Helms, I still think there is one more spot available for them to go take a tackle.
Wow. So both of those guys could come in and be semi-instant impact?
Helms could. Ugu, I personally don't see it. He is a JUCO guy, so you would say he should be able to.
Right.
But I think he's going to need it a couple years. I mean, he is a 4 for 3, so he's got 3 years of eligibility, could take a red shirt his first year. We'll see what happens with that. But I do think they're probably going to end up taking 3 more guys before the season starts, which I think is good news for any Baylor fan.
Does that tackle, so Baylor's still looking for a tackle out of the transfer portal, does he exist somewhere right now on your radar?
Radar maybe, but I wouldn't say that there's anyone in the portal right now that I would say Baylor is really intrigued by. I do think that everyone kind of needs to, and I think the Baylor staff as well, has to be patient. Because the fact of the matter is spring football ended, and now you're just waiting and hoping that guys decide, hey, you know what? I want to go try to play Power 5 level, or hey, I want to go play somewhere else, or I'm not getting playing time. I'm in the 2 deep, but I want to be the starter. Things like that happen. Conversations like that happen. And so we'll see if someone enters that catches Baylor's eye.
So along with that, I really want to know as far as Dave Aranda goes. There are football coaches that are very hands-off, the guys that sit on the eagle and the crow's nest and just watch football practice and let it be. When it comes to Dave Aranda and recruiting on the offensive side of the football, he's a defensive guy, and I don't think people gave him enough credit. Yeah, Baylor was 2-7 last year, but the defense was supposed to be horrendous. Look what Dave Aranda did to the defense. Does he recruit? How much of a hand does he have in recruiting the offensive line guys, or does he really just delegate that a lot to Eric Mateos and Jeff Grimes?
So it's a good question, and I pretty much talked to every recruit about their conversations with either the defense coordinator or the offense coordinator, and then Dave Aranda as well. And under Coach Rule, it really was not like the way it is now. Rule was really a hands-off approach when it came to recruiting, unless it was a guy that they just really, really wanted, or it was late in the process.
Yeah.
So Matt Rule was an amazing closer because guys wouldn't hear from him a whole lot until the very end, and then they hear from him and they're like, oh man, I really like Matt Rule. He's a guy who's focused on coaching. He didn't want to have official visits during the season because he wanted all the focus to be on football, not recruiting, and that worked for him. Now, for Dave Aranda, on the other hand, I mean, every single key prospect that I talk to that Baylor's interested in, they talk about how Dave Aranda consistently checks in on them and hardly ever talks about football.
Yeah.
Hardly ever. I mean, it is about family. It's about sometimes faith. It's about things that are deeper than just football. And I think players relate to that really well, and it also makes them feel like it's a family atmosphere when they do end up at Baylor. I know Bryce Simpson talked to me a little bit about Dave Aranda and how they have a great relationship. So, very hands-on approach, and a guy who I think has been a very solid recruiter and will continue being that for this Baylor program.
Going a bit back to Bryce Simpson, who we heard from yesterday on the afternoon show, he said, I would love to start my freshman year. In my opinion, the offensive line is the last place that you want a freshman to start. On a football field, you need experience in the trenches. But is he the kind of guy that could step into a starting role or a playing role in year one?
That's a good question. I hope not, because I'm with you.
Hope it's not a problem you have.
Yeah, I'm very much with you on I like to see freshmen redshirt. Now, there are a few special cases.
Yeah.
So the Allen offensive lineman, Neto Umeozulu, 5-star.
Very nicely said.
Thank you. I do the best I can, but he's a 5-star. Anywhere he goes, especially if it's Baylor, he is starting at guard. He is starting, but he's a different level of player already. And there are guys like that. Devon Campbell out of Arlington Bowie is like that as well. I think he could start for mostly any Power 5 program the moment he steps on campus. But in general, you're 100% right. You want your freshman to come in and redshirt. And to me, I think the grad transfer we talk about for right tackle is mainly for this year. because I do have faith in Gavin Byers. I do have faith in Elijah Ellis that those guys will be able to step into a role. I would prefer it to be next year, not this upcoming year. And so I don't know that he starts over Gavin Byers. I think it's to be determined what happens with Connor Galvin after this year. If he decides to stay, then you have your 2 tackles. Then I don't know where he would start. Maybe guard. I guess that's potentially what happens. But I would hope that they have enough depth with Tate Williams and Connor Heffernan being added and Ryan Lingyell that they don't have to throw Bryce Simpson immediately into the fire.
Nice. With going into next season, coming off spring game, everything all put together right now. J.D. PicKell mentioned on the show earlier today. Did you do your coffee shop thing?
I did, yeah.
You did your coffee shop thing?
Yep, I did.
And it's typically tough to listen to the top of the show in the coffee shop, so I bet you didn't get to this part. But I want to get your thought. I'm glad you didn't, because I want this to be completely your raw thoughts without any prompting from either JD or myself. He said that out of Iowa State, Texas, and Oklahoma, Baylor will go 2-1, which I can't help but laugh saying. You have a minute to respond. Go.
They'll win one of those games. They're not going to.
They're going to win. I don't even. How are they going to win one?
I think that a lot of times people kind of underestimate, first of all, a new coach coming in and how easy that is. People think that that's easy. It's going to work out. Everything's going to work out great. I think that Texas might have some holes this year.
Really?
And I do think it's because it's year 1 under Steve Sarkisian. Do I think he's a good coach? Yes. Do I think he's going to come out and win 11 games this year? No, I do not. I don't. And if they're an 8-win team, Baylor could easily be one of those 4 losses that they have. So I think that one is very realistic, especially at home. And Baylor's played them tough-ish most years. I know last year was kind of a beatdown, even though the score maybe didn't say it was. It was in the trenches, but I do think Baylor can flip that script. Now, as far as Iowa State goes, Baylor matches up so well with Iowa State. I keep hearing that, and I just don't. I hate. You know why they do? They match up really well with them because Iowa State wants to play really physical. Iowa State wants to be the dominant defensive team when they're on the field, and when they've played Baylor, they have not always been the dominant defensive team on the field because Baylor can handle that level of physicality. Now, is it going to be tough to beat Brock Purdy? Sure. Is it going to be tough to slow down Breece Hall? Sure. But I will say that talent-wise, as far as what does Iowa State have on their roster versus what does Baylor have on their roster, is extremely comparable. And I think that Baylor can bridge that gap, and especially at home, I think it shrinks the gap to 3-point game, and there you go. Baylor could beat them. Now, I'm not bullish enough to say that they can beat Oklahoma at all. But the other two, I think they're borderline toss-ups, to be honest with you. And if Baylor plays their best football, I think they beat them at home.
Grayson Grundhafer, 2-1.
1-2. They'll get one.
I know, but then you go off explaining how they could go 2-1.
They could, but they'll go 1-2.
Along with it, anything else in football before we get to women's basketball and Nikki Collin?
I don't think so with football. That's pretty much the main stuff.
Checked our bases. Nikki Collin.
Yeah.
Landed her first big recruit today. Coach Half staying in town, strength and conditioning coordinator for the women's program. He is, the Alabama 4 guy who's not at Alabama now, he's at Georgia. But the Alabama 4 guy, he reminds me a lot of that. Like the juice guy, very much kind of the glue of the program. I don't want to say the glue of the program, but one of those guys has been vital to Kim Mulkey's staff. That's huge. What say you on him staying in Waco?
So I'll tell you right now, as far as football, basketball, all these sports, you know who a lot of the players spend most of their time with?
Yeah,
the strength and conditioning trainer. It's hardly even the head coach at all. It's the strength and conditioning, because all those months where the coaches can't be with the team, they're with this coach.
Yeah.
And so Jeremy Hefner, I really like the fact that she was able to keep him. I also think that there's a bigger story and a bigger theme to this, and it's that Nikki Collin is not coming in to change everything.
Yeah.
She's not coming in to get rid of everyone, and if people fit what she wants, she's very open to keeping them, and I think that this helps and goes a long way to keeping the team very happy, keeping the team together, and also just kind of continuing the culture that's built while Nikki Collin is still putting her own wrinkle on it. So I'm very excited about this. I know that there wasn't great news that was also released today with Moon Ursin's decision to enter the transfer portal. Not really a surprise. We had kind of thought that this might happen. I know the thought issue is going to go to LSU with Kim Mulkey, and the nursing program was going to be a big part of that. But so far she hasn't made a decision, but she is in the portal, unfortunately.
What do you make of that? Her entering the portal? I mean, she's pretty much gone?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I know that she hasn't committed anywhere, so there's a chance she could decide to come back. But I think as of right now, I would say that she's probably going to be gone.
LSU bound? Back home?
My guess would be LSU. Yeah, to join Kim Mulkey, and I know their connection's really good, so it would make sense.
Yeah, she posted a heart on the Kim Mulkey post where Kim Mulkey apologized that before we get you out of here, before we get to our Bear Games question of the day, what did you think of the Mulkey goodbye?
I mean, I thought it was really, really nice. I liked it. I liked everything I read in it. It was very good to listen to now, or to read. But I will say, it was about a week or two.
Yeah, the timing was horrendous.
That's my only thing. It was like everyone kind of complained about it, and then she decided to send something, whereas I feel like she should have done that the day that she decided to go to LSU. I think it would have been extremely appropriate. She was at Baylor for so long, such a big part of the culture. I mean, I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole and say, oh, it's the worst thing ever, but, I think timing-wise, everyone would have wished that she would have done it immediately. Yeah. I don't think you can really argue that.
Kind of, it's like we're already over this. Like, why are you saying goodbye now?
Yeah.
Like, why this? That. Why now? It's already over. But I loved, somebody mentioned on the forum, like I too, for Mother's Day, I sat my wife down and mentioned all of the great accolades and accomplishments that I have and thanked her for her role in that, which is literally what the goodbye. Here's all the things I've done for you. And it was you that helped me do that. Goodbye. I'm a Hall of Fame. Somebody else was like, I too mentioned my Hall of Fame status every time I say thank you.
Oh my gosh.
So glad that you really loved the content she threw in there. Yesterday's question of the day with Baylor baseball scoring 17 runs in an inning and winning 23-3, which is just so demoralizing. Yesterday's question was the most demoralizing loss that you've been a part of. Today's is the most demoralizing win, where you just beat the dog mess out of somebody as a player or a fan, where you were like, wow, we should have mercy on what's happening right now.
Ooh. I mean, playing basketball in high school, we beat a couple teams badly. I think the worst ever was maybe 120-40 or something,
good.
Which is really bad. As far as watching watching sports, I would say there's a few that stand out, but one that really just very, very close to that 23-3 game was Baylor versus Gonzaga recently in the national championship. Very similar.
What sport?
In basketball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you remember it was like a month ago.
No, Gonzaga was supposed to win that game.
Yeah, but it was just not. It was just not close at all.
I forget how.
So that was definitely on my list. The Spurs have a couple in the playoffs too, where they just beat teams by 35 points. So
I got to go back and rewatch the Baylor Gonzaga game. Just the fact of just the beat down in itself
for the fifth time.
Yeah, just rewatching it and not having to be nervous, because I don't know why I was nervous in the moment. You thought Baylor's going to Baylor, but also it was just not close ever at all.
No.
So, all right, hey, thanks for big boarding today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. As always, it was always fun.
I love it. It is always fun. I love how the dialogue just riffs at this point.
Yeah, so. I mean, might as well.
Might as well. Drake Toll, Grayson Grundaver, joined by Marquise Cooley. We got Bump in studio, Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims. When we come back, I got a little special clip to play for you guys. A very special clip. This is my favorite thing that's happened in probably my life. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
It's Tuesday, and the calm before the storm of a big weekend in Baylor sports has set in. Surrounding the university, though, Andy Thomas has been named a collegiate baseball newspaper National Player of the Week. The fifth-year senior hit 8 for 11 with 3 home runs and 9 RBI in the 3-game series against Kansas State. Thomas was also honored with a nomination for the Senior Class Award. Only 10 seniors across the country are currently still in the running to receive the honor, as Thomas has made it to one of the final rounds. You can cast a fan vote for the Bear to win by going to seniorclassaward.com and voting Andy Thomas. Elsewhere in baseball, the threat of inclement weather has canceled tonight's game against Incarnate Word in Waco. The Bears' next competition will come this weekend with a series against number 21 Oklahoma State in Stillwater. And junior All-American women's golfer Gurleen Kaur will get a shot at the 76th U.S. Women's Open, set to take place June 3rd to 6th at storied Olympic Club in San Francisco. Kaur is just one of a handful of amateurs that qualified for the major. Around the nation, Oral Roberts basketball star Max Asmus has declared for the NBA draft, but will retain his eligibility. Emmanuel Miller, Texas A&M's leading scorer, is transferring to TCU to play basketball next season. The NCAA has proposed issuing technical fouls for players who flop. And Central Connecticut has hired Fairfield assistant Patrick Sellers as its new basketball coach. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. In Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up-Tempo.
The Jeep Celebration event at Allen Samuels has special pricing on the new 2021 Jeep Renegade Latitude with total values up to $5,250 or 0% for 84 months. Or a special deal on a new 2021 Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid Limited with total values of $7,000 or 0% for 72 months. It's the Jeep Celebration event at Allen Samuels, the best place to find your new vehicle. Located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available. Touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
I got breaking news here. We got Western Athletic Conference just announced they're adding several schools.
The WAC.
The WAC.
Okay. Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
I think Coach Gundy would be like my guy that I would just a hair. Yeah. I just want to be able to see it flow when I kind of slam his arm down.
Here's Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. I'm Drake Toll alongside Marquise Cooley. We got Hayden Bumpus, Jack McKenzie, and Armstrong Sims. You know, something happened yesterday. It happened Friday. We talked about it yesterday, and a lot of folks were confused about what we were talking about. Someone called in the show and was responding to, it was Joe Frazier, called in the show and wanted to respond to Joe from Oklahoma. And folks like, Joe from Oklahoma, what? What is he talking about? And I want to roll this clip because it's my favorite thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and everyone deserves to watch this before they die. Like, this is the epitome of entertainment, especially in the last week overall. Check this out from the afternoon show, 3 to 6 show. This happened on Friday between Joe from Oklahoma and our very own David Smoak.
From Oklahoma.
All right.
You're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey guys, this is first time, long time. I just wanted to address some rumors you guys were falsely spreading. You guys could not be any more wrong and are purposefully lying to cover up the truth. My point is Baylor is a much less attractive destination with Mack Rhoades as the AD. What has he done good over the past few years? Pretty much nothing. Baylor's Board of Regents really wanted to make Kim Mulkey the AD for Baylor, but Ken Starr and Reagan Ramsauer refused to allow a woman to be named the athletic director of the university. Drayton McClain was all on board with it, but Starr and Ramsauer refused it. You know, not only that, but when the university told Mulkey they would name the field house after her, she politely declined and requested that the court and field house be named after someone like Doris Miller or another Baylor military veteran. But the board refused to do so, and that is why she left, because she was not respected by the Board of Regents or the trustees. I think the naming rights of the field house are pointless. Hell, call it the Immortal 10 field house. I don't care. But they need to honor Mulkey by erecting a giant statue of her in front of that field house. You know, Mack Rhoades has made some really boneheaded hires recently. Matt Rule stunk. Dave Aranda, it's a little too early to tell. I wish you would go after a big name for the women's basketball hire next time, like Bill Lambier or Michael Jordan. You know, Michael Jordan wants to get back into coaching. He stated that in the past. He should be an assistant at the very least on Nikki Collins' staff. Another problem I have is with your sources. They're wrong 98% of the time. Get some people who are insiders and use them. Don't just ask random people on the street in Waco.
Hey, Joe, Joe, you're going to stay on the call with me because we're going to have a truth serum. I talked to Kim Mulkey. You have no freaking idea who you're talking to about sources. You can say whatever the hell you want. I'm not going to disagree with some of the things you said. My source is Kim Mulkey. I talked to her. Don't ever come into this show and question my sources. Ever again. You can have an opinion about Mack Rhoades. You can have opinions about the Board of Regents. You can have the opinion about donors. But don't you ever try to question my integrity when it comes to sources. Name one time when I've been wrong. I'll wait.
Yeah.
Joe, you there?
No, he hung up.
Yeah. Don't come in here with that crap. You have our number. Call back if you want to defend yourself.
Well, Smokey, I think he's also, why would Michael Jordan be an assistant basketball coach?
That's the dumbest damn thing you've ever said.
He's
Michael
a
Jordan,
billionaire.
He's a multi-billionaire.
He owns an NBA team. So I don't know if
you can defend Kim Mulkey. You can kiss her, hug her, whatever you want with her. This was self-inflicted as much as anything else. And to say Matt Rule was crap, some people only because he could never trust how long he was going to be here. He also kind of made that clear. That doesn't mean that he didn't disappoint a lot of people, including former players and alums. But Matt Rule took over a crap hole. And then 2 years later, they're playing for a Big 12 title, and they're a Chris Platt catch and run 1 inch away from taking the lead in the Big 12 championship game. How can you say that's a bad hire? Because he wasn't here long enough? Well, then say that, but don't call him a crap hire. He's a coach in the NFL. There are 32 of those jobs in America. There are 32 NFL jobs in the world. It was not a crap hire. You could maybe not have trusted him. You may not like him. You may not like him because he's not from Texas. He's not from the Big 12. He's not a Baylor alum. But don't call him a crap hire. You can say you don't like him. That's fine. Don't you ever come in here on this show and question what I report and my sources. I spoke to Kim Mulkey on the Wednesday after she was on a radio station in Baton Rouge, young man, old man, whoever you are. And I haven't shared nearly many of the things we talked about. I would never report what I reported without doing my due diligence, by talking to donors, by talking to people within the organization, by talking to those around Kim, by talking to Sonia Hogue, by talking to former players. I know all this stuff, like, you know, everyone's like scared of whatever the truth is. The truth is, she's gone. And don't you even come into this place and tell me that she didn't want something named after her. Something with her name on it. Why the hell did Kramer tweet out, put her name on the court? Where did that come from? You want to get true serum, Joe, in Oklahoma? Let's go. Let's freaking go. I talked to Kim at length. I know exactly what she said to me. I didn't even report all of it. But I did report a couple of things. Whatever the relationship is you have against Mack Rhoades, that's fine. Some people don't like him. He came in here, he's not the same guy. Some people may think he's here short term. Some people may think, well, he's not. You know what? If Kim wanted to still be the women's basketball coach at Baylor, she would be here. She made that decision. What did she want, her back scratched? She want a trophy? What do you want? You want more? You're the second highest paid basketball coach in America, highest paid assistant staff, great travel budget, great amenities, and about to have a new arena. And that was a line in the sand no matter what the hell anyone wants to be told by her by the time she was hired at LSU. That was a big deal. And if it wasn't, it was when she talked to me about it. You want to question where I get my sources? You better come with better than a phone call. You want to take shots at Baylor, the administration, the Board of Regents? I don't care. It doesn't matter. That's up to you. But you come on this show and you want to question what we're reporting, you can kiss my ass because you're wrong. When we come back, Brian Etheridge on women's basketball and where they...
Yeah, there's not really much to unpack from that. It just was the greatest thing that's ever happened, ever, before. Here's the second greatest thing that I saw this past week that I want to share with you guys because I love you, and I feel like everyone deserves to see this as well. Check this out.
My photographer, John Geist, was standing right here when he noticed somebody walking a dog coming in our direction. So we stopped him to ask a few questions, and all of a sudden we realized that's the dog that was taken. Oh my God. That's me motioning to my photographer, John, to start rolling when I realized we had spotted the dog reported stolen in Cambridge and the man seen in surveillance video accused of taking him. We start asking the man a few questions, and he admits to taking the animal.
He was just barking in the car, and I walked past the car, and I realized I thought it was supposed to be dog walking. It wasn't a kidnapping, it was just a simple mistake.
A simple mistake, he said, but police say 24 hours had gone by since Titus was taken, and the suspect never called them nor the owner, whose phone number is on the dog tag. You didn't think to call the number on the tag?
I did, but then I tried using one phone, the phone was broken, and I just...
That's when we called Cambridge Police. Hey, dispatcher, this is Juliana over at 7 News. I actually have the dog Titus and the man who said it was an accident that he took the dog with me right now. Within a matter of 2 minutes, officers arrived, as did Titus' owner.
When they said that they had him.
24 hours after being stolen from Greg's car in Cambridge, Titus is okay and back home with his dog dad. An emotional reunion, and one we were grateful to be there for.
I'm just glad that the person came back, and I'm glad that you guys were there.
Titus, say thank you.
We're so happy that you're home.
The suspect, now identified as 29-year-old Kyle Garapi of Boston, was taken into custody. He's charged with larceny and breaking and entering into a motor vehicle with intent to commit a felony. Arrested by Cambridge police in the same location Titus was stolen.
If anyone ever sees this, who questions the value of media, social media, broadcast media, this proves it. This is the way it was supposed to happen. So thank you.
John and I are just grateful that we were in the right place at the right time and that Titus is finally back home with his family. In Cambridge, Juliana Mazza, 7 News.
Yeah, I don't really have much to unpack from that one either. I just thought it was flipping awesome that the news reporter found the stolen dog and the culprit at the same time. That is what we call in this business newsworthy. I'm Drake Toll. We got Marquise Cooley with us, Jack McKenzie, Bump, and Armstrong Sims all in studio. When we come back, Sue Favor joins us from Women's Hoops World to talk about the Nikki Collin hire more in depth from a national scale. This, don't go anywhere, is Up Tempo.
It's Tuesday, and the calm before the storm of a big weekend in Baylor sports has set in. Surrounding the university, though, Andy Thomas has been named a collegiate baseball newspaper National Player of the Week. The fifth-year senior hit 8 for 11 with 3 home runs and 9 RBI in the 3-game series against Kansas State. Thomas was also honored with a nomination for the Senior Class Award. Only 10 seniors across the country are currently still in the running to receive the honor, as Thomas has made it to one of the final rounds. You can cast a fan vote for the Bear to win by going to seniorclassaward.com and voting Andy Thomas. Elsewhere in baseball, the threat of inclement weather has canceled tonight's game against Incarnate Word in Waco. The Bears' next competition will come this weekend, the series against number 21 Oklahoma State in Stillwater. And junior All-American women's golfer Gurleen Kaur will get a shot at the 76th U.S. Women's Open, set to take place June 3rd to 6th at storied Olympic Club in San Francisco. Kaur is just one of a handful of amateurs that qualified for the major. Around the nation, Oral Roberts basketball star Max Asmus has declared for the NBA draft, but will retain his eligibility. Emmanuel Miller, Texas A&M's leading scorer, is transferring to TCU to play basketball next season. The NCAA has proposed issuing technical fouls for players who flop, and Central Connecticut has hired Fairfield assistant Patrick Sellers as its new basketball coach. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. In Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma. And they have to come here. They're used to lights. They're used to the water in their mouth. They're used to experience. They already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll for a Baylor take on your lunch break.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Rounding out your show, 1:30 on the dot today. Talking Baylor women's basketball and the hiring of Nikki Collin. And on the show, Sue Faber helping us talk about it. She is of Women's Hoops World on Twitter. You can find her Women's Hoops World on Twitter. Women's college basketball writer, follows the game very closely and gives us great national perspective. Miss Sue, thanks for coming on today as always.
Hey, thanks for having me in the Bear Den.
There you go. It's an absolute pleasure, especially on a day where Baylor has a women's basketball coach. Last time you and I talked, they did not have that thing, and tell you what, it looks a lot better now that they do.
Man, it's been a whirlwind couple of weeks for everybody in Waco. I know, didn't it? I don't think anybody saw Kim leaving, and then the hiring of Collin out of the pro ranks was somewhat of a surprise. But seems like the dust is settling and settling in a good way too. I think maybe only one player, Hannah Gusters, I believe, followed Kim Mulkey to LSU, and everybody else has declared their emphatic support and loyalty to the program, and they are a stand. So I guess for fans, anybody who was worried about the program taking a hit probably doesn't need to worry about that right now, do they?
No, Caitlin Bickle, you've got Queen Egbo, then Nalissa Smith, and Jordan Lewis are really big 4 names that it was still up in the air if Nikki Collin would retain. Moon Urson entered the transfer portal today, but could come back. I think she'll explore that option, hopefully. I know that she was really close with Coach Mulkey, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I'll tell you what, we'll start right there. In the first week under Nikki Collin, I mean, we are impressed with how she's been able to retain those players and now one staff member. What is your assessment of her first week on the job from the outside looking in?
Well, first of all, sorry about that. I didn't hear about Moon entering the transfer portal this morning, but that is very interesting. And she could come back, but that is good that Nikki is choosing to keep so many people around her. A lot of times people come in and they want to, do it, quote unquote, their way and put in all their own people while not, maybe perhaps underestimating the structure that was there before them. And people like to have a little familiarity. So sounds like Nikki's making some smart moves. I know her introductory press conference went over well. She I don't know. I guess I just kind of see her and Kim Mulkey as a little bit similar on some fronts as to their approach to the game. And so that might put fans there in Waco at ease a little bit because their approaches are super similar. And, it just seems to me like obviously that was a surprise for us. I just kind of, the more I have thought about it since her hire, the more I think that Nikki Collins is actually a pretty good fit for the program. What do you think?
I think so. Like we talked about a little bit off the air, the jury was out at first. She was a name not a lot of folks have heard of. We had been hearing a lot of the Adia Barnes talk, a lot of the Joni Taylor talk on the front end. Molly Miller at Grand Canyon became a legitimate candidate who got an interview from Baylor, which I found interesting. But the fact that they landed at Nikki Collins is something that Bear fans may have been leery of at first, but now have come on board with, especially after her introductory press conference. But your initial reaction, thinking back to a week ago, Sue, when you saw the news, what did you think when Nikki Collins' name popped up on your phone with the Baylor job tied to it?
Well, it's always a surprise when somebody moves from jumps from either college to pro or pro to college. So yeah, my initial reaction was surprise. But if you look back on it, she's had quite a bit of experience at the collegiate level. She was an assistant coach for 4 or 5 different colleges, including Florida Gulf Coast, where she was very successful before going to the WNBA. And then she was a very successful assistant coach in the WNBA for the Connecticut Sun for 3 years before taking over in Atlanta. So she actually has had quite a lot of experience. And I know fans, like to think that whatever, but she's actually had quite a bit of experience on the pro and the collegiate level. I guess what surprised me was that she even admitted that she wasn't even really thinking about making any kind of change until this job came up. So obviously she saw that it was some kind of fit for her, because it was just maybe less than a week before the announcement that she was like tweeting to one of her Atlanta Dream players, "See you soon," when she gets back from Europe, and then all of a sudden, boom, she's home in Waco. So it kind of seems like from the outside looking in that, Nikki might have seen Baylor as a great opportunity and a great fit for her,
So along with that, there are a lot of folks in the WNBA ranks that it seemed like we're not just surprised with this hire, but also surprised that so close to the season coming up that Coach Collins would leave Atlanta for any job. Especially the season's right here for the Dream. When you look at it from a WNBA front, is it peculiar the timing of this, considering Coach Collins would leave with her season coming right up?
Well, actually, no, Drake, and I'll tell you why. When she first took over the Atlanta Dream in 2018, Collins had a great season. She was actually named league coach of the year for basically almost turning the program around. It had been on a losing track before that. They ended up finishing on I don't want to say a 10-game winning streak off the top of my head. They finished really, really strongly, and it was a really exciting finish. So there was a lot of buzz around her that year. Then 2019, completely opposite season. They lost a bunch of games in a row. I want to say 10 in a row. And it was completely opposite season for her. And then last season was kind of a COVID season, and the Dream again stumbled and fell. And so it's pretty widely seen in the pros that your time to succeed is a lot less than it is in college. You're given a lot shorter leash. And so I'm thinking, without having talked to Nikki personally, that she probably saw the writing on the wall. Like in the pros, you're basically given 3 strikes. And so the pressure was on for her for this season. Like, if you don't perform this season, chances are she would have been shown the door. So she probably was seeking the security, the greater security and stability that you do find in the collegiate level, where coaches are given, anywhere from a 4 to 6 year contract to begin with. And I believe her contract is 6 years, if I'm not mistaken. And so for me, Drake, I'm not surprised on that level, because I think she probably, if they hadn't performed this year, would have probably been asked to leave.
So along with that, you talk about the jump from the pro game to the college game is not that common and typically comes as a surprise to most folks. How different is the pro game when compared to the college game? And how different is it going to be for Collins to make the adjustment from being a head coach in the WNBA to a head coach at Baylor?
Well, you know what, Drake, it's not so much the game per se that's the difference. It's just the management of the players. When you're dealing with pro players, you're basically handling personalities and then managing people that already know how to play the game at a high level and trying to get them to fit together well and develop some chemistry. Whereas with the college ranks, you're more focused on player development and not so much managing personalities, but just how, their education, player development, all those types of things, because basically in college, you're still kind of a kid somewhat. So Nikki's focus is going to her focus is going to shift more towards, recruiting and, assisting development wise, whereas, with the Dream, she had a lot of personalities to deal with. She had a lot of really outgoing, gregarious players on her. So it'll be quite a shift for her. As far as it's just a completely different thing going from a professional environment and all the challenges that come with that to a school environment. So I don't know. It's going to be a shift, but it should be a really fun one for her.
Sue, when you look at what Nicki Collen did, you talked about the 2018 season, what she did in the WNBA, being the best coach in the entire league that season. Along with it, philosophy, not just X's and O's, but with players as well. What have you seen in your experience watching Nicki Collen coach? I mean, is she more privy to offense, defense, pick and roll? What is Baylor getting in a coach in Nicki Collen?
That's a good question. She does seem a little more offense oriented. Pretty heavy guard coach too, from what I've seen. So I mean, that ought to benefit her at Baylor quite a bit. But I don't really know how to characterize her offense, to be honest. I suppose you could call it a somewhat of a pick and roll offense, but she definitely likes to let people run their sets and run their plays. She likes the transition game. Her dream teams have always been really, really quick on their feet and quick on ball movement. So I would say, probably she would bring more of a fast style of play. That's also what she assisted in helping develop in Connecticut. Super fast style of play, fun style of play. So, I would say that was something that Baylor fans could probably look forward to if they like that kind of thing.
You said, too, that she reminded you a bit of Kim Mulkey from her opening press conference. I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on that and where maybe some of those similarities come from to you.
Well, obviously, there's nobody like Coach Mulkey. Colin is also just a really strong force, a really strong woman, and she's strong about her visions and about asserting what she wants. And so, that's what Kim Mulkey always wanted. And, I think they probably also maybe share some similar, values about education and maybe similar philosophical values, not just in education and basketball, but also in life. And so I would think it would be an easier adjustment for her players to make, for the players to make there at Baylor than it would be if it was maybe somebody else. We'll see. I don't think Nikki is as outspoken as Kim is, or again, nobody's quite like Kim, but we'll see. This will be interesting for her. She hasn't coached in college for almost for maybe like 8 or 9 years. So she just it'll be interesting to see how her years in the pros have changed her as a collegiate coach. And then obviously this being her first time as a head coach too. So I'm actually just as intrigued as you to see what kind of hybrid situation she'll bring and how much her growth is reflected. Because I know you've watched college game as well as I do. And, the players grow through the years, but the coaches grow too. And especially through this pandemic year, Drake, I saw some of these coaches across the nation in the collegiate ranks. They really had taken steps in their own personal growth. And I'd be sitting in plenty of these press conferences thinking, wow, look at Coach so-and-so. They're just, even Tara Vanderveer at Stanford, who's been coaching since the stone was turned from the cave, even she has grown this year. And so it's just been really, really a pleasure to see that. We'll see what happens with Coach Collen, but I'm looking forward to it.
Sue, last question before we get to our Bear games. I know the jury is still out on how well she'll be able to win, but she's walking into a really solid roster. The nucleus is back for Baylor. Right now, ESPN has the Lady Bears projected as a 1 seed next season in the way too early NCAA tournament with that core that has decided to come back. For you, what does Nicki Collen need to do at Baylor to have national championship caliber success?
Ooh, that's a great question. You just stormed up on me like that, like right out of the bushes, Drake. You know what? That's a great question. I would say probably her number one thing is to keep the investment with her current players that she's walking into going, and build trust with them and build rapport with them and continue to develop them, because Nalissa Smith is a force, and Nalissa Smith was already end of the season being ranked quite highly by ESPN. She has already basically publicly declared her allegiance to the school and to the program with wholehearted joy on Twitter. That's probably your number one girl right there. If I was Nikki, I would try to walk in and collect your top players like Nalissa and your other players that you have, and build a relationship with them, and then get them to play for you and get them to buy into your system the way Adia Barnes did at Arizona. You know how Adia was always saying, my players play hard for me. She had a point. If Nikki can get Kim's players to play hard for her, they could be a number one seed. Although I am going to clown anybody who tries to do any seeds like in freaking May for next March. That is ridiculous, but that's a whole other discussion.
Well, Sue, I'm glad that there's at least a formula for her to put something together for next year, but it is way too early to break that down for everybody. But I do want to thank
you guys. Should have a great team, though. I must say, I can't wait.
Hopefully so. As long as they all stay together and maybe get another transfer or two out of the portal. But again, Sue, thanks so much. As always, a pleasure. And our Bear Games question of the day for you today. So the Baylor baseball team scored 17 runs in one inning on Sunday. Unbelievable. It lasted 53 minutes. The one half inning did. It was wild.
That's crazy.
And when you're on the losing end of that, it goes from just being demoralizing to sad. Like you just want it to end. So we asked folks yesterday their most demoralizing loss as either an athlete or a fan. Today we're asking, when have you gotten a win in life, whether it be as a fan or as a player in the past, where you just really piled it on to somebody?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I haven't been at any of those 121-10 games, but I've definitely seen them on TV. And I would say it's probably actually been some of Kim Mulkey's wins that I would point to, because Kim would you already know they would whoop on at least one team a year in the pre conference play. And I forget the one year, I think it was 2 years ago, and the score literally was about 100. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's wow. But you got to respect that play from the Baylor Bears. Good play.
I mean, I think I was there for that one. It was Baylor, New Hampshire. And at one point, if I remember correctly, it was 38-0. Ended up being, just a silly, awfully bad. And Kim calls off the Dogs in the second half by putting in the backups, but they were almost as good. I mean, they're about as good as the starters. And so you really can't call off the Dogs in games like that. But tell you what, there have been some demoralizing beatdowns on the women's basketball side. Hopefully those don't go away. Hopefully they don't go away too soon here in Waco.
I hope so. I love the word beatdown. That summarizes things pretty well.
It does, especially in her tenure here. But hey, Sue, thanks so much for joining the show today. As always, love to get your perspective on women's college hoops and on the new hire at Baylor.
Hey, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Absolutely. Again, that was Sue Favor of Women's College or Women's Hoops World. Find our Women's Hoops World on Twitter, womenshoopsworld.com as well, and you can check out some really good women's basketball content. I know a lot of our listeners already follow her on Twitter. Women's Hoops World Hoopism on Twitter. I'm Drake Toll. We got Marquise Cooley in studio today, Hayden Bumpus, Jack McKenzie, and Armstrong Sims. When we come back from this break, playing celebrity birthdays in this day in sports history. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
It's Tuesday, and the calm before the storm of a big weekend in Baylor sports has set in. Surrounding the university, though, Andy Thomas has been named a collegiate baseball newspaper National Player of the Week. The fifth-year senior hit 8 for 11 with 3 home runs and 9 RBI in the 3-game series against Kansas State. Thomas was also honored with a nomination for the Senior Class Award. Only 10 seniors across the country are currently still in the running to receive the honor, as Thomas has made it to one of the final rounds. You can cast a fan vote for the Bear to win by going to seniorclassaward.com and voting Andy Thomas. Elsewhere in baseball, the threat of inclement weather has canceled tonight's game against Incarnate Word in Waco. The Bears' next competition will come this weekend with a series against number 21 Oklahoma State in Stillwater. And junior All-American women's golfer Gurleen Kaur will get a shot at the 76th U.S. Women's Open. set to take place June 3rd to 6th at storied Olympic Club in San Francisco. Core is just one of a handful of amateurs that qualified for the major. Around the nation, Oral Roberts basketball star Max Asmus has declared for the NBA draft, but will retain his eligibility. Emmanuel Miller, Texas A&M's leading scorer, is transferring to TCU to play basketball next season. The NCAA has proposed issuing technical fouls for players who flop, and Central Connecticut has hired Fairfield assistant Patrick Sellers as its new basketball coach. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. In Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up-Tempo.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
It's a name and a memory that called us back. It's a belief and a labor that will carry us forward. It's a time and experience that will make you return. The new Bear Ridge Golf Club, a space revitalized, a course restored, a new experience. For a tee time today, call the Pro Shop at 254-848-7800. Go to BearRidgeWaco.com, just south of Waco on Highway 84. Come join us at Bear Ridge Golf Club.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains?
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Paulie, give me some of your tots. No, go find your own.
Come on, give me some of your tots.
No, I'm freaking starved. I didn't get to eat anything today.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Brian, don't be jealous that I've been chatting online with Dave all day.
Your place for a Baylor take on your lunch break. Here's Drake Toll.
Pizza? I feel like if I got pizza, it would suffice my hunger.
I wouldn't get pizza.
What would you get? So I have this like processed crab meat. It's actually imitation crab meat.
You have imitation crab meat.
So oddly enough, like this is like free plug to imitation crab meat, is that
the brand name?
You can buy it at HEB, right? You go to you go to the fish section, which smells horrendous, by the way. Like, why would anyone ever work in the fish section at HEB? And then you go and get imitation crab meat for like $3, and each pack has probably 24 strips of imitation crab meat, and 7 will fill you up. So you buy butter, Land O'Lakes, free pub, you're welcome, which doesn't have the Native American girl on it anymore. It is just a lake, so it's butter without it's butter. You put it into a receptacle, you melt it, you add a little bit of salt, a little bit of garlic, you take the imitation crab meat.
Sounds so healthy.
Which, by the way, is not actually crab meat, i.e. the word imitation.
Imitation.
No, it's actually the word meat that throws you off because fish is not meat. My high school athletic director is calling me. But it's imitation crab meat, and you take it, you dip it in the butter, and like 6 of those will suffice your hunger for an extended period of time. So I recommend you do that. Like $3.
I thought it was 7. I thought it was 7 of them.
7 will too. $3, and you get a lot of different meals off of it. Hey, 1 second, I'm on a radio show. And then that, and you can eat spinach dip too with wheat thins. That's what I'm gonna have for lunch today. Spinach dip,
You're gonna
wheat
have
thins.
Spinach dip, wheat thins, and imitation crab meat. That sounds disgusting.
With melted butter, a LaCroix, and a Topo Chico.
Disgusting.
Imitation crab meat's so good.
Disgusting.
It's this random fish they kill and cook, and then it just tastes like crab. And they process it into strips, they paint it to look like crab meat, and then it's the best food that exists.
It's so bad.
That
sounds
so
terrible on all levels.
Oh, hey, let me call you back. It's actually really,
You're on
really
a radio
good.
show, sir.
That's what I eat. Celebrity birthdays! Sabrina Carpenter.
Dead.
Sabrina Carpenter.
I'm gonna go 45.
No, she sings the na 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 na. I keep my eyes wide open. Remember that song?
Nope.
Yep, she's alive. 22. Lena Condor.
50.
Nope, 24. Black China.
No clue who that is. 50.
33 for Black China, not 50. Cam.
I had no idea who these people were.
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton is gonna be 29.
No, he's 32. 29 is a pretty bad guess. I'm not gonna lie to you. James Reed, don't know who that is. Natasha Richardson, dead. Salvador Dali, the painter.
270.
He'd be 117.
Dang it.
Yep.
Not bad.
Nice
Not
try.
a bad guess.
Nope. Pretty bad.
Nope, not bad.
Harper Dark, the pop singer, Harper Dark.
20.
Literally. 21. That was close. Wow. Giovanni Dos Santos.
I've heard of one person today, and it was Cam Newton.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying who it was.
By the way.
Nope.
52.
32. Nice try. Pam Ferris, movie actor Pam Ferris' birthday is today.
60.
73.
Okay.
Not bad. I got to tell you this, though. Maybe you'll get some of these because some things happened today in sports history.
Oh, yes.
13th Kentucky Derby. Isaac Lewis aboard Montrose. What year?
1876.
1887. Henry Desgrange establishes world's first bicycle world record, traveling 35 kilometers an hour. Speed.
1891.
1893, actually.
Wow.
Let's see. Deep Blue defeats Gary Kasparov 3.5 to 2.5 in chess. Oh, no.
1901.
1997. It's the greatest chess match in history. How lest ye forget.
Was chess invented in 1901?
I don't know. Oh, God, it had to be. It had to be.
They played it like in the Middle Ages.
It's like billiards. It was like early billiards. Like, oh, you're a chess player. And it was just looked down upon. You know, because billiards for a while was like a sinful sport. Like, if you played billiards, you smoked and you were just the worst. Not that smoking's bad. It's not.
We're supposed to be ending the show right now.
Oh, shoot. I'm Drake Toll. It's Armstrong Sims. We got Bump, Jack McKenzie, Marquise Cooley. Come back tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We're going to talk to some people about sports all day long. Because up-tempo.